What's up, everybody? Wolf from Walmart. We're back. We're back, baby, again.
Not a bad fish right there, guys.
Oh, no.
PETA. Out here catching Folsom bass right now, dude. Woo, he's a little chunker.
What up, what up, what up? Tis I, Dave Erkey, the host of the Co-Angler podcast. Welcome to 2025. I'm just going to call it season 2. I've only been doing this a couple months, but it's easier to just land on the new year than try and remember September or whatever, however that V for Vendetta saying goes. Point being is I'm super excited tonight. I got one of my buddies on. I have talked to this guy for, I don't know, a couple years now. He's been gracious enough to respond to my DMs to begin with. And then over time, we've created a pretty good relationship. And like, I've actually got to meet him in person a couple times. I'm super excited to have him on. But first, I have to tell you guys a couple things. First off, the Kayak Adventure Series is kicking off, and it is kicking off in February. If you need any information, please hit me up on Instagram at Wolf Walmart or here on the Whole Angler podcast, and we can get you that info over. I should have a PNG file coming to me soon here, and I will have a ton more info coming out in the following 2 weeks. You're going to get a boatload of info. We're going to get some people on. We're going to be talking about it. And second order of business is ISE, which is the Western Big Expo. It is happening here in Sacramento. It happens every year about this time, January 16th through the 19th. We will be there at Kayak City. I will be at the Kayak City booth. I will be wandering around. I will be that vagrantly weird person that will creep up and tap you on the shoulder and say, hi, nice to meet you. My name's Dave, because I'm socially awkward and I don't know how to address anybody except for straightforward. So that's who I am. And I hope you like it. And anything other than that, nope, no orders of business. So we're just going to jump into the ad, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring my buddy on, and we're going to have some fun.
What up, dudes and dudettes? I'm sure you're tired of hearing my voice by now, but you're going to hear it for a little bit longer because this is a shout out to the sponsor of this show, Kayak City. Kayak City has been taking care of me ever since I started getting into a boat and paddling around in the water trying to catch some fish. And when I tell you it is Kayak City, it is literally like a city of kayaks. They have Bonafide, Eddy Line, Field Free, Hobie, Jackson, Native, New Canoe, Old Town, Wilderness Systems, and so many used kayaks. I stopped trying to count them a long time ago. If you guys are looking for accessories, they have walls and walls and walls of accessories. They have one wall dedicated specifically to Yak Attack, and it is a massive wall. Kayak City is your #1 Yak Attack dealer here in Northern California. If you want to know where it is, stop by at 7812 Auburn Boulevard, Citrus Heights, CA. Roll through, say what up to James, Troy, Eric, Scott. Tell them Dave says what's up, and tell them I sent you there. Thanks for listening.
And without no further ado, I'm too big for my britches, and I introduce to you Sir Andrew Hayes.
What's up, man?
What's up, bud? How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. It is late for you. I am so sorry.
All right.
Yep.
It don't matter.
You got a game going on right now.
Yeah, we're good. Jack Sawyer just returned like a 98-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown, so we are sitting pretty right now.
Oh, yes.
The Ohio State game, if anybody's listening to this later on, it's the Ohio State-Texas game. So
this episode is actually episode's actually going to drop right after your first of a 4-part series that you got going on. Do you want to talk about that? Yeah,
nice.
This is the day after. So
yeah, absolutely. So day 1 or episode 1 of that series is going to be someone that you are very familiar with, to the point where you're the first person that actually put one of his baits in my hand. You know that, right? At the Columbus Fishing Expo last year, I think.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, I think you gave me a minigun. So episode 1 was battle baits and flint. And you came up to me, and there were a couple different baits you gave me at the expo, but you were like, dude, just try these. And you hand me a completely micro downsized spinnerbait, the Midwest finesse type people that we just are, and it's in our bones. And you look at it and you go, yeah, I'm gonna tear fish up on that. It's gonna be awesome. So yes, thank you for introducing me to what ended up being one of my favorite tackle companies right now.
Dude, you're welcome. Thank you for taking it, because dude, I love what Flint's been doing. I fish pretty stressed bodies of water. I mean, pressure in California is high. And I know it is in the Midwest because I've been out there as well, but it's really high out here and everybody's throwing a spinnerbait.
Yeah.
Everybody's throwing a chatterbait. Everybody's throwing a frog. Everybody's punching every piece of plastic known to man. So to follow behind some of these really good anglers and be able to clean up is awesome. And that's exactly what that minigun did for me. So I was like, this is special. This is something new. So yeah.
And then you start looking at his design side of things, like breaking the mold. The whole point of it, obviously, is just diving into people that are actually doing unique stuff. And I think, and I told him this in the episode, like hats off to him, because spinnerbaits are one of the hardest things to like stand out in or innovate in, because they're component builds. So it's like, okay, you go on lureparts.net or Jancraft or Jansnetcraft or whatever it is, and like you go and you buy the parts and you build your own spinnerbaits, and it really is hard to stand out in spinnerbaits, and he does that. And there's just a couple different ways he does it. I think the blade choice is really cool. Obviously, he hung his head on the size of that minigun, but he makes great regular size spinnerbaits too. But it's those skirts, the fly tying background of those skirts, where you can tell that he didn't just say, okay, this skirt is, 30 strands of this color and 20 strands of this color and 10 strands of this color, and just put it on there. It's like he's actually layering them on a vise and making sure that, okay, when I look at this bait, when it's running the right way, that the light part of the skirt is always going to be on the bottom. The darker part of the skirt's always going to be on the top, just like a regular bait fish is. Like, it's really good stuff. So he does a great job. And yeah, like I said, I probably wouldn't have even heard of him if it wasn't for you. So appreciate it.
Dude, yeah, stoked.
I would have eventually. I should say that. I would have 100% known of him eventually, but not nearly, a year and a half ago because of you. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, dude, you're welcome. So today is, you get to interview a lot of people and you talk a lot and you have some of the best questions. I'm a horrible question asker. You can ask anybody who's either been on this show or stood and talked to me for 10 minutes.
I've talked to you plenty of times. You're good.
Yeah, I know. But I'm sometimes I get real bad with questions because I paint. Zach said it best. I paint with a broad brush. So I'll give like this giant general question and you're supposed to interpret it. I don't know.
For certain people, I think those make the best conversations, though, because you're not asking questions that you semi already know the answer to. Like, let them take it the direction they want and go with it. And if you get those people that are good talkers, that's where then they start to talk about something that you would have never even thought to ask before. And it just takes you down this lane that's so natural. It's like, now you will have some people that are like, they need a lot more guidance with questions and they give you the 4-word answers and you're like, okay, I'm going to need to do a little bit more work on this one. But
yes. No, I literally had one of those episodes the other day and I was like, I feel stupid because I can't ask the right question.
I've had a couple of those where I was like, this is going to be on me. All right. Better think of some questions.
So, all right, I would start it off with the first question, but really, dude, like, tell me, dude, because I mean, I've known you for a while, but where were you born? Years? Let's start talking about your childhood, man. I'd love to hear about this.
Yeah, I was born in Washington Courthouse, Ohio, so just a little podunk town in South Central Ohio, and was fairly sheltered in terms of, like, that's just where I was my whole life. Like, we didn't move around, we didn't do anything. We, lived in Washington Courthouse, Ohio. We went to, Myrtle Beach once a year, and that was basically like your year. So yeah, it was great though, because I really enjoyed obviously growing up in a small town. You knew everybody, like you knew every single person in your school and your grade, and you knew their parents, and you did something on one side of town, your mom found out about it before you made it to the other side of town back home. Like, she'd had 5 friends that called her already and told her all the stuff that you'd done. So like, it was that type of town where, it's 9 a.m. Your parents kick you out of the house and basically say, come back at dinner time. And where are you going to go? They don't know. What are you doing? They don't know. But, it's a safe town and they trust you, and it's just, hey, go be kids and come back. So that was kind of where fishing obviously started, was, when you're running around and you're kids and you basically have a bike and $2, right? You have like little fishing poles and stuff. You go down to the creek, you tromp around in the creek, you catch crawdads, you explore a little bit, and it just kind of naturally leads you to like, okay, well, we're going to go fishing for almost every day in the summertime. And that's one of the things we can do. So yeah, that was probably where it pretty much started. And other than that, pretty completely normal childhood on that front, but I really took fishing seriously a little later in life. Like really got into it probably in my real late teens, early 20s was probably when I like got into bass fishing. We fished our whole childhood, but really like started to like want to learn about actions and different rods and different techniques and seasonal changes and that type of stuff was really when like that kind of thing hit. But yeah, other than that, just small town kid, grew up, and then I went to Bowling Green State University for college. So that's up in Northern Ohio. I did move back down to Cincinnati for like 8 months to a year, probably. I did a internship down with the Cincinnati Reds, and then I've been in Dayton since then. So since probably like 2013-ish, 14-ish was when I kind of moved to Dayton, and been there ever since. And I work for a baseball team now for like my regular job, and then do the podcast and the fishing thing kind of on the side too.
So wait, we've talked about your regular job. It's not regular. Like your job is not regular at all. Could you please? I really need people to understand and hear what
Yeah.
your day is like, because I've talked to you, but like earlier than I would normally wake up, and I've talked to you later than like I'm up super late, and you're still talking. So
yeah, I don't sleep a lot. Like it's just at this point, you just keep going, man. No, so like my regular job, I am a VP for a minor league baseball team. So basically, I've worked there since I was in college. I worked in like operations, and then moved over to, so like operations was more like on the team side of things and clubhouse and being a liaison between kind of front office and the coaching staff and the players and stuff like that. And then moved over to, I did ticket sales stuff for a couple of years, and then I oversaw our whole ticketing department for a couple of years and our whole staff there. And then for the past like 3 or 4 years, I've been on our sponsorship side. So I handle all of our corporate partnerships, whether it's, you know, signage, radio, TV, naming rights, like you name it, all that kind of stuff is what I do. I negotiate those contracts, you sign new people on, you're renewing and retaining and all that type of stuff. So it's really fun. But yeah, hours wise, you want to talk about a kind of a crazy life. So we kind of have, I guess the nice part is you've got 2 different cycles of the year. So you've got like in season and off season. Off season is what I'm in right now, which is basically like September to April. We kind of go back to a semi-normal schedule for like a normal person. So it's like, you know, 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m. to 5:30, you know, 6 o'clock on most days, like that type of thing. So it's really not bad. But then in the season from April through September, which sucks because it's like prime fishing time, obviously, too, we are there all day. Like you never really go home almost. So like I will get there at, you know, 8 o'clock in the morning, and I will get home at like 1 a.m. and then sleep for a couple hours, go back, do it again. And you'll go weeks without a day off because you've got homestands, you've got events, you've got all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's like, you know, during the summer and spring and even early fall, like we're pulling 92-hour weeks, and that's not out of the ordinary.
Dude, I've done weeks like that, and like I've prided myself on, yeah, I've worked weeks like that, but it's not like that consistency of April to September. It's like 2 weeks in a row. You're like, yeah.
Now, to be fair, like I'm not mining coal or anything, right? Like it's not like back-breaking work or anything. I mean, it is hours and it's time intensive, but I mean, I'm, you know, you're at games making sure that clients are happy and checking on folks and having conversations with key people and stuff like that. Like, you know, for the first part of the day, you're in the normal office. I'm in meetings all day. I'm doing all that kind of stuff. And then at games, a lot of times, unless something goes wrong, you're more like almost hosting the party, right? So it's not bad. I don't want it to make it seem like I'm like, you know, over here breaking my back, sweating away. Like I know there's a big difference between what I do and what you do. You're doing actual work. Like I'm at a baseball field.
Yeah, no. So here's the thing, and I'm going to clear this up just so you feel a little bit better. I do what I do because that's what I can do. I could never do what you do. I've tried jobs where I have to work with my brain, and the fatigue is different. It is totally different. You get like a runner's mentality. You start running 3 miles, you run 3 miles every day. You used to running 3 miles, 5 miles ain't that bad, you know,
Yeah.
or a 10-mile run every once a month. It sucks, but you'll live through it, you know. if you were sitting in front of a computer and running paperwork and all that stuff, it doesn't matter how many times you do that a day. The longer days that come, it is just fatiguing. You're spent. So I'm saying like there's a big difference between physical labor and actual like using your mind. And this is what I've actually tried to teach my son is use your brain, don't use your back. You don't want to end up like your dad. You want to be able to be smart and work and do stuff, and be healthy when you're old.
Yeah, I don't want the stolen valor of like I'm out there, really busting my tail and doing super hard stuff. But it is kind of crazy hours. And then obviously when you're, what was my bright idea? My bright idea was, oh, okay, well, let's have a side job of talking about fishing every week. So that means, guess what? If I didn't have enough to do, let's come home at 2 a.m. and record and edit a fishing show in my bedroom. Like that seems like a great idea. No, I want to go to sleep. But that's the life that we've chosen.
Yes. So I do want to backtrack a little bit because we're going to get there for sure. But I do want to backtrack a little bit. So you said, excuse me, I'm sorry. Going through your childhood, you were fishing and you guys were doing whatever you're doing. But you said you got into like fishing seriously later in your teens. Now, we grew up. Your normal childhood and my normal childhood are two different normals. So if I was to talk about fishing, going to school, talk about fishing, it would, I would just be outcasted for sure. And now is that pretty average with you growing up? Was everybody out there fishing, or were you guys like, was there like a clique of people who fished and then, the football players? Did you do any sports or anything like that? How did that work out?
Yeah. So I guess one thing I am pretty fortunate about, I guess, is like I went to a pretty small school. So it's like there weren't a whole lot of cliquey, your normal stuff I think that you see on like high school movies or whatever. It was like I played pretty much every sport growing up because, again, you went to a small school. So like semi-athletic kid gets to play every sport, all season long. And it's the same 15 of you basically that make up every sports team. So like in the, fall you play fall you play either football or soccer. In the winter you play basketball. In the spring you do baseball or track, or there were years I did both where literally you would like go to baseball practice. Baseball practice would have to be staggered with track practice because you'd have people go to both. So you would go to baseball practice, do that for like an hour and a half, and then go over to the track and do your like hour and a half of track and then go home. So like a smaller school does that too, and you get a lot more opportunities. So no, there wasn't so much clicky. Now I will say that I was definitely a little weirder. Like, I mean, there weren't like for fishing anyway, like the, cool kids or whatever, like most of them and us and a lot of my friends like weren't fishing. There were like a couple friends that you had that were kind of like the more rednecky guys, and I was probably in that group a little bit, and like you'd go fishing or do that kind of stuff too. And you weren't outcasted for it, but it definitely wasn't like a super cool thing to do, kind of like it is now. Fishing had a come up for sure, and fishing is cool now for some reason. I wish it would have been cool when I was in high school and middle school and stuff. That would have been great. But no, it was just like no one really thought anything of it. They didn't think it was cool. They didn't think it was not cool. It was just like, oh, okay, you and the 3 or 4 guys on the team that are a little bit more on the redneck side, you guys go fishing while we go play video games or do whatever.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, so where I grew up, there was some freshwater fishermen, but you never met them. You heard about people going. Yeah, no. Like where I grew up, when people go fishing, it's because they go with their grandpa or their dad and they go walk out to the end of the pier and they drop a sardine and a big weight down and they catch whatever's swimming under the pier. And hopefully it's not loaded up with mercury and they can eat it. Like that's, if it's not glowing, they're probably going to try and chew on it anyways. It's just what it is. Well, it's, it's California, bro. We get all that goodness flowing through Pacific Ocean, so that was like the only, and it was like no one really ever talked about it. I went fishing with my aunts a couple times. My dad took me a couple times, like, but it wasn't like like actually fishing. Like I didn't understand that you could trick a fish into doing something, like into eating. It was you throw out either a cheese ball if you're going to this stocked mountain area, or you throw a sardine in a weight and you catch a mackerel and you put the mackerel on a bigger hook and then you catch a bigger fish. And every now and then it'd be cool because you'd see a shark, but most of the time it was just like seals that would come by because there was barges off of Catalina Island that you could hop these little tugboats out to, and like it was cool, but
it's a whole different type of activity than what we like to do now. That's the thing. I mean, around here, the same thing, right? There's like meat fishermen, there's minnow soakers and all kinds of stuff that run around and do that type of thing. But yeah, I would say growing up, we were still on the bass side of things. Like we would do a lot of that stuff too. I mean, you go out every once in a while and you take night crawlers or whatever, or fish on the bottom for catfish. But I mean, for the most part, when I started fishing, like I was out there chucking a spinner bait and doing stuff like that more so than live bait fishing.
Got it. Yeah. See, and I love that because you're actually doing something. Yeah. No, that's a totally different type. That's super cool. So later years, you're getting out of high school. Did you go directly to college? Did you take a break? Were you just like,
I went direct? Yep.
Okay.
Right out of high school, went straight to it. I got lucky. I got an academic scholarship to BG, so went up there and did that for 4 years. And I actually went up there to study computer and electrical technology was what I was going to do. Basically, like you're like building, computer motherboards and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'll just do it, play it safe, get some job that will still be there by the time I graduate, and set yourself up and be okay. And I did 1 semester of it and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know enough. I thought, you start from the ground floor and they teach you all the basics and stuff. I was like, no, dude, I was in classes with kids that have been building computers since they were 5 and whizzes at everything. And I was like, dude, I don't know any of this stuff. So I made my way through like a semester of it, but then I was like, this definitely isn't for me. So I started looking at other stuff, and my roommate at the time was a sport management major. And I always used to just completely, give him heck all day long, because it was just like, dude, everybody wants to work in sports. You're not going to work in sports. You're not going to be the GM of the Browns, bro. Like, stop it. And so then I looked into it when I was ready to change majors, and I saw that BG has like one of the top sport management programs in the country or whatever. And I looked at it and it's like, it's basically just a business degree with a little bit of a sports angle to it. So I switched over to that, and that's what I graduated with. Then did a couple internships, obviously, with the Reds and the Dragons and some stuff like that. And then was one of the few people I think that actually stays in the sports side of things and gets a sports job. But yeah, that was like straight out of high school, went straight to college, and then up in Bowling Green. So you're a lot closer to Lake Erie because you're in the northwest part of Ohio. So you're getting up there, but you have the Maumee River that runs almost right through there. And the Maumee River is famous for the walleye run. So the walleye, like once a year, run up that river, and it is like shoulder to shoulder with dudes. It looks like, like a stocked fly fishing place or something, but it's shoulder to shoulder of people making that, diagonal cast and floating it down, and they're basically just snagging fish. That's all they're doing. They're out there ripping jerk baits and curly tails and stuff through it, and every fish is hooked in the back and the tail, and they get it unhooked real fast and no one sees that it was snagged, and oh, look what I got a giant walleye. It's like, no, you snagged a walleye. It's what you're doing out there. So I never actually did that, but that was one of the things that up there where I went to school is kind of like famous for, is the walleye run.
Yeah. Okay. So now, are they running to spawn, or are they moving feeding grounds, or how does that work?
I think it's to spawn. I think they basically come in. I don't know for sure, but I think they come in from Lake Erie up the tributaries and basically go up to spawn and then go back out.
I can totally relate to all this because I live right next to the American River, and salmon run. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Is it the trashiest thing in the world, basically?
My son loves it because he calls them zombie fish.
Yeah.
And, they're massive. They're taller than he is, and he's 9. Like they're big. They look, they're toothy. They're just they
will they eat?
Decaying. That depends on the guy you talk to.
Yes, wink, wink. Yeah,
yes,
they
wink,
all
wink.
eat.
Yep, they all eat. They all eat on their way to die. Like everybody wants that last meal. It's like death row. So and my son's mom actually lives like right off the American River, so it's like blocks away.
Cool.
So you can walk down there. It's super cool. I can totally relate to that though. So when you were moving up there, were you like, I think I'm going to get in more fishing? Or was it like you had some time off? Like, do you have siblings? Like, were you fishing with your family before this or?
So I do have a sister. I got a younger sister. She's like 3 years younger than me. Obviously not into fishing whatsoever. Probably has never touched a fish would be my guess. But no, like growing up. So my dad's dad, he was into bass fishing for sure. So when he retired, he's from Wilmington, Ohio, so close to where we lived. And when he retired, they moved down to Tavares, Florida, which is right off the Harris chain. So there they had a actual trailer, like they lived in a trailer park, and their trailer was like their backyard of their trailer basically was the canal that connects like Lake Eustis to Dora, I think. But it's like right out their door. You walk
Yeah.
right into the canal. So that was cool. They moved down there, because it's a world-class fishery. And that was like the time where it was probably like the worst it's ever been. So he never really did that well when he was down there. But he moved down there, had a bass boat, all that kind of stuff. And he definitely was into that side of things. And he passed away when I was like probably 8 or 9. But we used to go down there every like spring break until then. And we would go down there for the week and he'd take us out on the boat and you go out on the lakes and you'd fish, out the back door and all that kind of stuff. It was really cool. That's probably one of the first places, if not the first place that I like casted, a rod and used lures and stuff like that. I can still remember the very first lure I ever threw while I was there. I had a little Zebco and you'd throw it out and it was the plastic giant blue worm that used to come with the like starter pack basically. So you could learn to cast and stuff. And I would sit out there and that same darn worm I probably threw for like 3 years and, maybe caught 2 or 3 fish on it or whatever. But I don't think I ever changed that worm. That blue, big, thick plastic worm that came with it. So you could practice casting basically. That was how I learned to use a fishing rod. But yeah. And then my dad liked to fish too. And growing up, he definitely fished a lot. I think once he got a little older, he got more into like golf and bowling and stuff like that. So didn't do it as much. But then when he saw that like growing up that I was into fishing and I fished a lot, he kind of got back in it with me. So we had a real small aluminum bass tracker that we got like one summer, and we would take that out to some local lakes and stuff. And where we lived, actually growing up, the house we lived in my whole life, if you went across the street, there was a big hill. And if you went up the hill, now this hill was like razor wire guarded, so you couldn't go past it. And it's this giant, basically rectangle. And it was the town reservoir, but it was a private reservoir. You couldn't go in there. You got arrested if you went in there, all that kind of stuff. Well, it's a big, deep reservoir. And the people that ran the town, basically, they used to stock it. And it was like the good old boys club. Like if you knew somebody or you worked for the city or something, you got to go up there and there's this place that you could go fishing if you wanted. So we would go around the neighborhood with like wire cutters and stuff, and we would cut holes in this fence and we would sneak up there all the time. And that's the first good place that I actually got to fish. And I learned a lot up there because in that reservoir, there were smallmouth. I've got pictures of me, as a teenager with me and my buddies up there holding probably 19-inch smallmouth, having no idea what we have in our hands. Just like, you're out there just fishing. So that big cats, there were a bunch of sawguy in there too. So you'd catch the sawguy at dusk. The sawguy in that body of water would get in packs of like 7 or 8, and they would swim around the perimeter of the reservoir so you could watch them at dusk, and they would just wolf pack together. And we used to go up there and throw those little $1 Walmart spinner baits, the like white and blue ones, the willow blade ones that you can still find there today for $1. We used to go up there and chuck those things and catch sawguy on them, all night long. So yeah, that was like, it's kind of nice. You couldn't go up there too much because you did get in trouble. Like you got in a lot of trouble if they caught you. So you had to be smart about it, and you had to like cut the hole on the side where when Fat Boy came up on the other side and caught you, that you could run out and get out before he could even remotely get over there to get you in any trouble. So that kind of stuff. Yeah. But that was another place that we go. And then eventually, like, I would tell Dad, I was like, Dad, you got to come over here with me sometime. He's like, no, you're not supposed to be over there, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, just come over there one time. And so he went under the fence, came over one time. And then from basically there on out, he was like over there every night fishing over there. I get calls, be like, you got to come over and see what I caught. Get over here. So Yeah, that was great. But yeah, my family fished a little bit. My mom's dad, he fished a little bit too, more on like the catfish side of things and stuff though. And he was more on the hunting side for sure of the outdoors. But yeah, it's definitely in my family a little bit, but I definitely took it farther than anybody has in my family yet, like in terms of diving into bass fishing.
Okay, so you had a good juicy kind of influence, like as an older child too. So
Yeah.
when you got branched out on your own, because I'm sure your whole family didn't move for you to go to college, right? Like you moved out on
No.
your own. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dorm
Yep.
rooms or apartment or whatever. So you
Yep.
have free time when you're not studying and doing school. So that
Yeah.
was kind of like that took up your free time.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. In college, not as much. Now, like when I came home for the summer and stuff, yeah, but like in college and stuff, there just weren't many opportunities up there to fish. There wasn't a lot of water around Bowling Green. Bowling Green is in the middle of farmland, BFE nowhere. So it is just a blip on the map that you are going to miss on the interstate if you're not paying attention for it. And it's like complete middle of nowhere, quintessential college town, people doing college town things because it's the only thing to do around there. So there just wasn't a lot of opportunity to fish up there. So I really didn't too much in college. It was pretty much like I was into it before college and then really got into it after college, like as soon as I was done with college.
Okay, so I got a chance to travel around the US a little bit, and in the Midwest, you guys do this thing. You guys do keggers and cornfields.
Yeah.
Um,
That's all we got.
that is the scariest thing I've ever done. That is the scariest thing. It's not about like the party. The party was great. It's after you're super wasted and you're trying to leave.
Yeah.
Nowhere,
Bonfires.
no
Yeah. A lot
idea.
of
Yeah,
bonfires around here. Yeah.
dude, that's so gnarly. So okay, we'll jump through it. But I was just putting that out there because I mean, I don't know how you guys got out of there all the time. I got lost.
Yeah.
Somebody had to come find me. I was like,
Yeah.
it was stressful.
I do think that's where like part of my that whole type of thing, like I have a really good sense of direction, not on like roads or anything, like in terms of if you would I don't know, tell me to like walk into a forest that I know nothing about and just like walk in, and I get to look at my surroundings a little bit, but I'm not really paying attention, and I go in a mile and a half and you spin me around 15 times, I'll be able to find my way almost right back to where we started. It's just like a instinct thing. I don't know why. I think it's just, from growing up and what'd you do in your free time? You went around and tromped in the woods and you didn't have any GPS or anything. Like you just kind of learn to, I don't know, in the back of your mind, keep your bearings about you a little bit. And it's just second nature to know exactly where you are and how to get back. And you can't really explain it. It's not like through landmarks or anything. It's wired in there somewhere. The little redneck kid that's all you did in the summertime is you went and got lost in the creeks and the forest and stuff. Cornfields too. Yeah.
I love it. I could not do that. Now, if you put me in the middle of a city, I can tell you exactly where I'm going. But if once you put me in the woods,
dude, you should have seen when we graduated high school, me and two of my buddies, we went on our senior trip and we were basically like, everybody goes to the beach and stuff like that or do whatever they want to do. And we're like, let's just like get in my SUV at the time, basically. And we went the polar opposite way. We went west. So we started driving from Ohio west with no plans, no nothing. We told our parents basically like, hey, we'll be back in like a week or two. And, parents are like, okay. And so they did. And we had like one cell phone between the three of us, just in case for some reason we needed something. We had nowhere to stay. We had no plans, no nothing. We didn't know what cities we were going to. We just left. And so we drove from Ohio. We ended up going like Indiana around. We went to St. Louis. So we made it to St. Louis. We made a big loop up. We ended up in Chicago for a couple days, went up to Michigan for a couple days, and then a big loop around. But like, you should have seen us the first time that we were in a city like Chicago. Dude, yep. I have so many stories of just, we were idiot kids and we didn't know it, or St. Louis, dude. There are parts of St. Louis that us three should not have been. And we were walking around. There was one day we were walking around. We were looking for this is how stupid we are. We were looking for this place that we saw in Man vs. Food that made big milkshakes. And we were walking. Yeah. So it was called like something Palace or something. I can't remember what it was called, but we were Crown Candy is what it was called. Crown Candy. And it was where they had like the big milkshake challenge where you had to drink like a dozen of them or something. Yeah. We're looking around. We end up basically walking through like Ferguson, like on foot, just 3 white kids, just not where we should be. And we're getting yelled at by people on porches, and people on cars are flipping us off and stuff. And we're just like, what's people's problem? Like, we're just so sheltered. We're from a farm town. Like, we don't know what we're not supposed to be here. That we stayed in a hostel in Chicago for like 3 days. Don't do that.
No.
We ended up buying like Cubs tickets off of like people when we were in Chicago, like some bums basically while we were in Chicago. And we were downtown, and we asked a guy at a restaurant what way we walked to Wrigley. And he was like, "What'd you just say?" And we're like, "Well, way do we walk to go to like Wrigley Field? We want to go to the baseball game." And he's like, "Hey, ask these kids what they just asked me. Ask these kids what they just asked me." It's like, walk to Wrigley. Wrigley's like 14 miles that way, dude. Get on the train. I was like, I don't know how to use the train. Like that kind of stuff. We're just sheltered kids. But yeah, we're so out of
You're like, what?
Yeah, so out of place in a big city. Like, we're driving. I'd never seen a city with one-way streets before. I'm driving the wrong way down freaking streets, getting honked at by every yellow cab known to man. Just look like idiots because just never done it before.
Dude, that's so awesome. I live on a one-way street, by the way, but
yeah, it's like, what is this crap?
Yes, dude.
Streets go 2 ways.
Honestly, half those people probably were more afraid of you. They're like, these white boys are nuts. Like, do not walk up. Just stay on the porch, say your piece.
Bunch of idiots. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So you guys just went west and then turned around, came back, and you're like, wow, I saw buildings. It's just nuts.
Yeah, we went to like we went to like the Up in the Arch in St. Louis, and we went to a Cardinals game while we were there. We went to weird stuff. You're stopping along the way, and there's some weird sign for some place called Santa Claus, Indiana. So of course you pull off, you go to Santa Claus, Indiana. It's a whole Santa themed town that just exists in Indiana. We went to Abe Lincoln's house for some reason. We went to the Willis Tower. So you go up and you stand on the thing up in Chicago where it's clear below you, and just all the weird stuff. Yeah.
No, that's not weird. That's awesome. I was talking to somebody. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were interviewing like a professional angler or something like that. I'm like, do you ever ask them like if they stop random places? Like, because I mean, these guys, professional anglers or professional sports players, whatever, they travel to all these cities to go to do one thing, and then they turn around and they leave. Like, my curiosity is like, do they ever stop and like want to check out the world's biggest ball of yarn, or do they want to see that? Like, I love that stuff. I do not care if people make fun of me for being a tourist. Like, I'm a tourist. Like, I want to see all the cool things. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like if you ever go back to Chicago, go up to Arlington Heights in the winter. Out in Arlington Heights, it's like 20 minutes outside of downtown. You take the train, and you get out Arlington Heights, and about 3 blocks east of the train station, 3 blocks west of the train station, there is a miniature. A guy comes out of snow and ice that's on the ground, piles it up, and makes a miniature Statue of Liberty that is like per spec.
What?
Yes, dude. It's like, I want to say it's about 13 feet tall, and it's the most beautiful thing. And it's so cold that it stays. So it's pretty rad. But yeah, it's
wild.
Weird stuff like that where you're like, dude, I gotta go check this thing out. Like,
it's like, I just gotta see if this is real.
Dude, I mean, don't put your tongue on it or anything, but like it's tight. So
that's awesome.
Whatever. I'm totally a tourist guy, so I love that kind of stuff. So you're out there, you're in college, you're doing your thing, you're kind of you're shoulder to shoulder at the walleye run, you're having a good time, and you're finally getting into business sports management. Like, you've changed your major, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure the call home was like, hey, I'm swapping my major, I'm going to do this. And parents like, oh no, he's throwing his life away or whatever. So where are you at in all this? Are you just solo the whole time? No buddies? Because you lived with your buddies, but then you made new college friends, all that kind of, are you just soloing life right now? Is that how it goes? Or
for the most part, probably. So like when I was up in college, obviously you end up living with your buddies all 4 years. And then when I went down to Cincinnati to work for the Reds for a little bit, one of my buddies from Bowling Green had moved down to the University of Cincinnati, and he transferred. So I roomed with him basically in some beat up house in the middle of the ghetto. Basically, like, we were in the roof part of it, like the attic, basically living up there for like 6 months. So we just shared a room up there. And then, when I moved to Dayton, I just got like a 1-bedroom apartment in maybe the worst apartment complex in Dayton. Like it was, I think my rent was $500 flat per month, and it was like you try not to die getting from your car to the front door of your apartment, like that type of deal. It was not great. But yeah, so I lived there for 2 years, and I had a girlfriend this whole time from high school. So obviously didn't live together or anything. But then when I moved to Dayton, we moved in together. So she was in that apartment with me for 2 years, and then we got a house after that and stuff. But yeah,
Okay.
so
And she held jobs, she did all that kind of stuff, or was she like staying at home because she didn't want to die to the car, or how'd
no,
that work?
she had a job too. So she worked at like where we grew up in Washington Courthouse. There's a big outlet mall right outside of town. It's like right off the interstate. It's just a big tourist place, I guess, but it's where most people around there work as a kid and stuff like that. Just pick a store and go in there and apply and work there. So she worked at like the makeup store out there for a long time. So she would drive there, and then she was still in college at the time too. So she was doing like Wright State, which is here in Dayton and stuff. And then she became a nurse. So she works at the hospital in town and all that kind of stuff now. But yeah, we both lived in just that completely terrible apartment complex for like 2 years to try and save enough money to like, put a somewhat of a down payment on a small house or something and try and get out of there. So trying to save as much money as we can.
So when you bought the house, you stayed in Dayton. You were
Yeah.
still, but you weren't working for Cincinnati anymore. You were back. You transferred.
Yeah, I was
over
working for the Dragons, where I do now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see any Ted Williams posters while you're in the Cincinnati Reds headquarters? I only asked because I have like 5 vintage Ted Williams baseball cards in plastic. Like I won't really.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Touch oxygen. So that's. I was just curious. I was like, dude.
Well, what's funny, so like what I did down there at the Reds, I was a special event guy basically for their Hall of Fame down there, and the Reds have like one of the best team Hall of Fames of like any team in the country. So it's really impressive. It is like a little mini baseball Hall of Fame basically, but it's all Red centric. So I would down there and I'd help schedule like, alumni, old players to come back and do appearances and all that kind of stuff. And then I helped schedule the induction gala for whoever's getting inducted in the hall that year and that type of thing. So it was cool because you get to see a lot of that kind of stuff, a lot of old memorabilia and, old game used stuff and the World Series trophies and all that kind of stuff. So as a baseball fan, it was definitely cool. But yeah, it's I did that for about a little under a year and then moved back and worked for the Dayton Dragons literally ever since like 2013 or 2014.
Yeah. Okay. So 2014.
Yeah.
Dude, I always forget you're so much younger than me. I feel so stupid right now.
I'm not that much younger.
Yeah, you're young enough. There's a lot that happens in the next few years, buddy. I'm telling you what. So 2014, you get your girlfriend and you guys buy this house, right? And there's nothing on the horizon that says, I want to get into bass fishing. You're just doing the Dragons thing and you're just working and then you're just fishing for fun. Like you hinted at it earlier, you work all day and then you come home and you do a podcast. So where did all that kick off? Like, cause there is about 6 years in there, at least 6.5 years before your name ever came across my phone. What happened in those 6 years? Like, girlfriend, nurse, you're dragoning.
So then, I mean, we got like eventually, probably around the same time that I started podcast, we got married and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just same girl. She's one room over right now, sleeping. But so we've been together ever since then. But no, so we bought like a fixer upper. Real good deal on a house basically, and I redid the whole inside myself. And I would basically I would literally work all day, the normal hours I'd have. So I'd go in at like 8 a.m. I'd get off at 1 a.m. and then from like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. I would go over to the house that we just bought while we still had that crummy apartment, trying to get it ready so that we could actually move into that house. Because again, this is a fixer upper of a house sort of. And so I would go over there and work in the middle of the night with like one lamp on, basically just, rewiring or doing whatever I needed to do or flooring or things like that. So I would go over there in the middle of the night and do that and then come drive back over to the apartment, sleep for a couple hours and then get up and go to work. So we did that for a little bit until we got the house to a point where we could move into it. And so then we moved, and probably somewhere around that time, probably I got really into fishing, obviously. And, back then Instagram was like starting to become more of a thing. And so I had an Instagram page where I basically just kept all my fish pictures and, kind of kept like almost like a little fish log basically for myself. And back then that was before like crazy algorithms or whatever. So it's like if you had, cool pictures or something, like, I mean, your Instagram or your whatever could blow up like overnight, and you could get thousands and thousands of people start following you and all that. Because it was before everything was like regulated. So it was cool because Jen, just like out of nowhere, this weird little, fish Instagram thing that I have for myself just kind of like started to take off a little bit. And you'd get like, you open it up one day and you're like, oh, there's like 15,000 people that are looking at these, following these fish pictures that I have or whatever. So that was like my first little baby dip into something, even remotely resembling caring about the fishing side hustle part of this or whatever. So, but I wish I knew the date that it happened, but I can tell you exactly the exact day where I went from just like casual fishing to really turned and wanted to learn everything that I could about bass fishing. I was fishing. It was just like a weekend day, bored, whatever. I go out to some lake that's outside of town and I'm crappie fishing. I brought like a ultralight rod, probably, I don't know, 10-pound test and a 1/16 ounce rooster tail. And I'm just smoking crappies like nobody's business, just having fun. Got away from everybody for a little bit, out there by myself. There's not a human for 5 miles from me probably. And I'm out there, and then I make a cast, and what I assume is probably like snag a carp or something. And all of a sudden, line goes crazy on this poor little rooster tail, this poor little ultralight rod, and then it jumps out there, and it is a 6-pound bass. And a 6-pound bass around here, public water, like, it doesn't happen, or not very often anyway, especially for a kid that doesn't know what he's doing. And so I get this fish in, like, I fight it for a couple minutes, it's rip and drag, it's doing all this stuff, and I get it in. And it's the biggest bass I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if this fish is 5 pounds or 10 pounds. I have no frame of reference or idea or anything. All I know is it is the biggest fish I've ever seen in my entire life. So I panic. I take that fish. I throw it on the ground. I sit there for a second. And I go, what am I going to do with this fish? Like, I was being selfish, and I was like, I got to keep this fish, or I got to show people this or something. Like, I don't have anything to take a picture with. I got nothing like that. I mean, this is the biggest fish I've ever seen. So I grab my stuff. I grab that fish, and I head back to my truck. And I walk back to my truck, and I put that fish on the floorboard of my old beat up truck, and I drive 40 minutes back home. And we get back this. So I guess this was at the old apartment. So this would have been around, I don't know, 2014, 2015, probably. And I have that fish still. I didn't bonk it. I didn't do anything. This poor fish is just like, I'm letting this thing die out on the floorboard of my truck because I'm an idiot. And so what do? I get in my apartment, again, panic, don't know what to do with this fish. I put it in the bathtub. I fill up the bathtub with water. I put this fish in the bathtub, and I kid you not, this fish is alive, and it's swimming around in the bathtub. I don't know how this fish lived for 40 minutes out of the water on a floorboard of a truck, but this fish is swimming in my bathtub. You can ask my wife. She's still pissed about it to this day that there was a fish swimming in the bathtub, but it was alive. And I'm like, what because I was going to get mounted, basically, was my thing. So I was like, I'm going to take it home, get it mounted, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to prep a fish to keep it mounted. So I, Google it and stuff real fast. And I guess you're supposed to put it in a wet towel and then put it in the freezer so that it freezes the fish. Okay, that makes sense. So I get a towel wet, wrap it, put it in the freezer. All this time, I don't think I ever actually killed the fish. So I think I'm pretty much just put this fish alive in the freezer to be cryogenically frozen and brought back in 5,000 years or whatever. But so that I got that fish mounted, and that fish is actually.
Oh, dude, let's see this. I love this. You got it, dude. Oh,
that fish is right there. So that's the actual fish. That's a skin mount.
Oh, dude.
Which
that thing,
it's not going to do it justice. It's a freaking, for around here, it's a pretty good fish.
I've fished around you. Yes, that is a very good fish for out there for sure. I haven't been chance
Yeah.
to hit the rivers yet, but I've fished around you a few times, and that is
Yeah.
a
It was just a
tank,
regular
dude.
public lake fish. And so yeah, that was the fish though, where it was basically like, okay, whatever that was the best, high I've ever felt in my entire life in terms of I want to do that again. I want to feel that again. I want to experience that again. How do I do that more? And so that's what led me down the bass fishing side of things, was literally that fish, that dead fish that's on my wall right now.
Dude, that's so awesome. So like in a state of panic,
Yeah.
you pick
I'm
up, you
not proud
leave.
of it. I'm not proud of how I treated that fish at all. I honestly, every time I look at that fish, I have two fish on my wall right now. I have a replica smallmouth and that skin mount largemouth. And every time I look at that largemouth, I get like queasy to my stomach.
Okay,
Still to
so
this day.
I definitely am embarrassed of some of the stuff that I did when I was younger because I know better now.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I harbor.
Yeah.
Don't I would never hold on to that. Like, dude, you did
It
exactly what you
just
knew how
still
to
makes
do at the time. It's awesome. And
it
the fact
makes me
that
I look at it though, I'm like, I wish that fish's genetics were still in that body of water where I was fishing. I took this fish is I don't know, 20 years old, dude. This fish, they don't get like that around here. I really wish that fish had one or two more spawn seasons in it and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, but
at
yeah,
6 pounds, I'm sure it had plenty of spawn seasons, enough
yeah.
for the genetics to be floating around in there, dude. Like
It's also
they
just the I don't know, yes, there are way better ways to immortalize your catch than that. But if you want to look on the bright side, I guess that fish has made me treat, I don't know, 10,000 fish way better than I ever would have. So like that fish sacrificed its life, unfortunately. God rest your soul. But it's helped a lot of other fish in the process.
it's the bass messiah.
Yeah. It's like he died so you all can live.
That's so awesome. I love it.
It is kind of on a cross-shaped piece of driftwood, actually.
They'll do tree, dude. I mean, that counts, right? I love it.
That's
Oh,
funny.
so okay, so that's basically your catalyst moment is kind of
Oh
what I
yeah.
was looking for. Like I said, I will ask you questions with a broad brush, but really what
Yep.
I'm looking for was the directed question was catalyst moment. So
That's it. Yeah.
that changed the tide for you. Now, did you go out? I don't know. I'm a weirdo. If I caught one on an inline spinner, I would invest in inline spinner stock. I would be like, I would have. You've seen my tackle a few times. I know I've sent you at least a picture or two.
Oh yeah.
I have a 3,700 box that's stuffed full of inline spinners because that's what I started with too, and
As
they
you
worked.
should.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but so where did you go with that? Were you like, I'm throwing inline spinners for life, or it's like I'm gonna get a heavier rod, or like
Yeah.
how does that work for you? Like where did
It
your brain go with that?
you know, I think I probably like the first thing I probably did was, yeah, like look into different gear and different things. Cause I mean, I knew enough at that point. Like I said, I'd thrown spinner baits and stuff my whole life. And you
Yeah.
buzz around in the creeks with buzz baits and all kind of stuff. So it wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing. It was just I was out there crappie fishing. And there is like if you're from the bank, you have no electronics, you got no nothing. I'm not a live bait guy. Like one of the most fun ways to catch crappie is just find a school of crappie and buzz a 1/16 ounce Warden's rooster tail right through the middle of the school and just let that rod load up every time. Like it's just kind of fun. So yeah, I was out there specifically chasing that type of bite and just out there kind of mindlessly chucking a rooster tail. But no, I don't know. I think the next thing I probably did was just really, really, really lean into, okay, you don't need to do the whole multi-species thing anymore. I was a lot of times just to go out and catch what you catch kind of guy and just have fun. I didn't care what species I was targeting, what I was catching. It was just, okay, I wanted to go out and catch fish and feel the rod bend and fight them and have fun. And I think that fish taught me that you should stop messing around so much with panfish and that type of stuff and like really just spend more of your time targeting bass. I'd targeted bass in my life before, but it was just one of 5 or 6 different species that I like to target and like to have fun. And I think that fish was basically like, nah, stop messing with crappie, stop messing with catfish, stop messing with, saugeye or bluegills or something. Like this is what you need to be going after.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're now directly into bass, and like you started a podcast called the Tackle Talk Podcast. Was it your search for more tackle that started that, or was it your stumbling through trying to figure out how to become a better bass fisherman that gave you the actualization that you could in turn take that journey and give it to others?
I'm trying to think of time. Okay, so that fish probably would have been caught in I think it was probably 2015, 2014 or 2015. It's one of those 2 years. And I started Tackle Talk in 2019. So there is like 4 years in there where I was just fishing and trying to learn everything I could and really trying to better myself from a guy that was just probably a better fisherman than most of his friends to like, okay, I want to be on the level of some of these people that, can hold their own in tournaments and know a lot more about tackle and stuff like that versus just being the, redneck kid that really likes to go fishing. So, but then at some point, yeah, I mean, I learned enough where I got pretty good around here and I felt confident and stuff, but I was still seeking a lot more info. And at that time, like I spent a lot of time in the truck. I put a lot of pavement hours in for my job and going to meetings and stuff like that. And so at the time, I'd listen to a bunch of sports shows and I listened to Dan Patrick and all that type of stuff. And, one day I was just in the truck and kind of hit me. I was like, why don't you listen to fish stuff or try and find a fishing show or something? So got on, I don't know, whatever the thing was at the time, maybe Spotify or whatever. But this was like at the beginning of really like when people even cared or knew what podcasts were. Excuse me. And at the time, it was, I want to say, Bass Talk Live and Ike Live were probably the only two shows really that were out at the time. And Bass Talk Live is a lot more tournament heavy, and it wasn't really what I was looking for. And then Ike Live is a lot more like hanging out with your buddies, shooting the bull, drinking some beers, and loosely talking about fishing, but more just like a hangout, almost like the feel of a morning show or something, right? Where it's just it's a cast of characters and they're having fun. They have their own little stories and banter and stuff like that. So I didn't find anything that was scratching the itch that I had, which was, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but I am very much just like a sociopath in terms of if I'm going to listen to something and dedicate my time to it, I want to learn something. I want it to be informational. I want it to not be a waste of my time. I don't want to just listen to something just to kill time. I want to have more information after I listen to something or read something or dedicate time to something than I had beforehand. So that's just how my brain is wired. I don't like reading nonfiction books, or sorry, I don't like reading fiction books. I do read only nonfiction books, basically, if I'm ever going to read anything. If I listen to something, it's going to be a semi-informational sports show or something. So I have more info on what's going on in the NFL or the NBA or MLB than when I first started listening. Like, that's just how my brain is. I'm not one of these people that could probably listen to like some true crime show just for entertainment and get nothing of real world value out of it once it's over. So I was looking for that from the fishing side of things, and I looked all around and no one was really doing it. There were some YouTube channels and stuff at the time that had kind of done it, but in the podcast side of things, like there wasn't an audio long form format that was just breaking things down and trying to teach people and unbiased. That was a thing that really grinded my gears about everything that I was trying to consume on YouTube or whatever. It's like everything was pushing some 10%, Woo Tungsten discount code or the new Guggen, whatever they just came out with. Like everything was just so transparently biased. And so I was like, why isn't anybody just doing a regular thing for regular middle of the road people? And there isn't anything out there. So finally I was just like, you know what? I'm going to kind of mess around and just start and see if I can put something together worth listening to. So I did like, I think 3 original episodes. And if you go back and listen to them, they are awful. They are terrible. They are, I've told people this before, I think too, but when for some reason I'm not very technologically savvy. So my iPhone, when you hook like AirPods or something up to it and there's nothing already playing, there's only one song, I guess, quote unquote, that's on my phone, and it is the audio from the first episode of Tackle Talk that I ever recorded, and I don't know how to get it off my phone. So when I attach AirPods or something, it starts that first episode, and I have to sit there and listen to myself until I can switch it to something else. And it just, I mean, I guess in one hand it's a little bit of motivation, I guess, and I guess that maybe there's something to that, but it is just cringe city in terms of how bad it was. But I think the idea at the time had merit, and it is kind of cool, I guess, to listen to the trajectory of the show. And I think I've gotten a little bit better, obviously, as it's gone on, a little bit more professional, and learned how I like to structure the show and get rid of the ums and the pauses and all that kind of stuff, and just put together a really semi-professional show. And I can hide all that because I edit the crap out of that show and all kind of stuff, so I can hide my imperfections. But trying to give somebody something that when they sit down and they hit play, that it's worth their time. And I'm not trying to waste your time. I'm not turning on a microphone just because I have to get an episode up this Tuesday and okay, let's talk about something. I want there to be a purpose to it, and I want it to either help you learn something about catching fish, learn something about the gear that you use to help catch fish, or something in the fishing world that will leave you a better angler than when you started listening. I think that was like the initial goal of it, and I think it's still the goal of it today. It's just a lot more polished of a product than it was at the beginning. But that's really where it came from, was just no one was doing it. Why is no one doing that? It pisses me off that no one's doing it because I want something like this to listen to. Fine, let's try and make it.
Dude, that go-getter mentality is somebody who's, I was having a conversation the other day, and they're like, man, these kids today, they want the world to be like this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, but they lack the work ethic, dude. They won't go get that. They'll talk about it, but they'll never go get that. So like, you're like the exact opposite of that. You're like, all right, I want something. I can't find it. I'm going to make it. And that's what's going to be. So dude, I love it. So I'm married. You're married. How does that conversation go? Because I know mine didn't go too well, and it took more negotiation than I expected to be like, can I have an hour or two just in the garage without, being, like, it's going to be a me time thing? Or was she like, is she pretty good with you having your own passions and being, on your own?
Yeah, we coexist pretty well together because she's like, I am the social person in the marriage here, right? Like I can go and, it's part of my job and stuff too sometimes. Like I can go into any room and talk to anybody, and I enjoy doing that. And I enjoy meeting new people and new relationships and stuff like that. And that stuff doesn't bother me. Where with her, she would rather die than go to a dinner or go meet people that she's never met before or be in a room full of, like, she is the polar opposite. I'm an outdoor cat, she's an indoor cat. Like, I mean, we're as far away from each other as you can be in terms of personality sometimes, which is great because I push her sometimes to get out of the house and go do some stuff and step out of your comfort zone, and she forces me to not do that stuff all the time. So but her hobbies are on her own. So like, she likes to read, she likes to just kind of like hang out around the house and have her own time and that sort of thing. And that's great because then that obviously gives me the time to do this type of stuff and whatever I want to do. So no, we coexist pretty well in that regard. And it's not like she didn't know what she was getting into. I mean, since she's met me, I've been an outdoors person. Like, I like to hunt, I like to fish. It's just part of who I am. It's not like I came home one day and was like, I've been home and been a book guy or a video game guy for 10 years. And then I came home and was like, just kidding, I want to fish. And like, it didn't come out of nowhere. It's the only thing she's ever known. So I don't think she really had a choice.
Okay. Well, I get that for sure.
Yeah.
I was just curious if there was like a conversation, like, because I mean, I had to have a conversation because I am that guy that you're describing. I mean, I wasn't into video games. I did a lot of skateboarding and some other stuff, which still kept me out of the house a lot, but I was home a lot more. Now when I go, I don't go skating. I don't go just skating down the street and skate some spots and go out with my buddy for the day. I'm miles out of service and gone all day, and that happened kind of, I feel bad for her a little bit overnight in a way, because whatever, her mom bought me the fishing rod. It's whatever.
Yeah.
It's her fault anyways. But so when I got the bug for fishing, like I was like, I'm doing this. And so when I was like, hey, I kind of want to talk to people about this in the garage, she was like, as if you don't do that already? Like,
Right. Like, all right, fair. But I'm gonna record it.
yeah, but it's gonna be recorded,
Yeah.
okay? And I'm actually gonna find out
So
more
it's
about them
productive.
than we're not
Yeah.
gonna talk about fishing so much as fishing in their life. And she's
Yeah.
like, whatever.
I
It took a
I
bit.
feel a little bit of that. I do feel like when I first started it, she probably judged me. That's probably the right word, right? She didn't like
Yeah.
she didn't have a problem with me doing it. I think she just probably was like, all right, whatever, I guess. I don't know. He's in there doing his weird fake fishing show thing or whatever he's doing. Like, fine. So I think there's probably a little bit of that. But then, over time, it's now very much like if I stopped doing it, she would probably freak out because like this is not a nothing anymore. Like, I mean, this pays our bills. This does. I mean, this is, we're going to the. It's also embarrassing. Like, we'll go to like the grocery store or something, and someone will stop you, and you're like, she's
Hi.
like, "Are you the you? I listen to your show." I'm like, oh god, and she's just like laughing because it's embarrassing because I get recognized as the fish guy. So it's like, there's a little bit of that too, but no, it's once it became a bigger thing, I guess. I think she realized she was like, oh, this isn't a nothing, or this isn't like a waste of time or something. Like you're really doing it. So okay. And then she's been really supportive. But I do think it took her a little while to warm up to it of like, what are you doing in there again? You're talking to yourself about fish. Okay, man, whatever you want to do, go for it, I guess.
Has she ever just sent you a video from the hallway of like you're sounding through the door, like, hey guys, blah blah blah, like from
No,
the
thank God. Oh, that'd be so bad. Because like I said, I edit the snot out of the show too. So if you recorded that outside and you just heard me like say a sentence and then stop and repeat the sentence, or stop and repeat the sentence like halfway through the sentence where I felt like the mic made a weird noise or something, like I have that thing. I'll be in the middle of a sentence. I'll say like 3 sentences or something, and then there'll be I don't know, a little stuff, man, like a sound I don't like or something like that. And I will pick up at the last natural pause that I remember in that sentence and then keep going. And then when I go into post edit, the natural pause obviously is a place where the audio breaks. So it's a really easy, clean spot to find, and you merge them together and you get the same breath usually. This is how I think. It's so weird.
No,
I
I love
hate
it. I love it.
Yeah. So like I will cut it off right at the start of the word after the pause, and then you marry that up to where the start of the word was with the pause before, and you get the natural breath leading into the next word so it doesn't sound cut.
Oh my gosh, dude. Like that's that next level stuff.
Psychopath stuff. Yeah,
No.
serial killer stuff.
So I'm a particular person. So when I meet another particular person and they like start getting passionate about their like things that they're particular about, I love it. I'm like, yes,
Yeah,
this is because I can relate. I may not be the same way about my sound or my editing because I don't do that, but I'm very.
You've heard my
particular in
story
those
about
areas.
when Mark from Big Joshy came on for the episode, right? And what I did to that episode.
I think you told me you chopped everything up and like found words that he said and like
Yeah.
overlap. Okay, so explain
So
this because I'm sure people that have listened haven't heard it. So
if you want to know how messed up my brain is, this is a 100% true story. So I had a guy on who owns a company here in Ohio called Big Joshy Swim Baits, which I love. And we had a really good conversation about the history of Big Joshy Swim Baits and the design of them, everything. And then I go to edit the episode basically. And for some reason, his audio, his microphone was like semi-connected or something. I don't know. But every like, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 seconds, he would be talking and you would hear, so there'd be a click like in the middle of words, and it was just, so yeah. And then we started the company in 2014, and then we did it. It's like it was just in there, and it drove me nuts. And so yeah, I went through and I cut out every single one of those clicks. And if it was in between a word where I could mask it so that you couldn't really tell that I cut it, great. If it was in the middle of a word and there was nothing else I could do, I went through the rest of the episode and tried to find where he said that word and then substituted it back in to the word that had the click in. So if you listen really closely to that episode, you can probably hear a couple spots where maybe there's like and I even had to go through and be like, that when he said that word, that's too different of a tone and you can clearly tell. So I'd look for it again, like that type of thing. The entire episode for like 40 minutes worth of that.
Dude, tell me you have that episode
Stupid.
memorized. Oh my
Oh, I
gosh.
probably
You
did at
would
the
have
time,
to.
dude. I was so mad, and I was just I don't know. I'm never gonna ask somebody to re-record, and I'm never gonna release it the way that it sounded. So it's like, all right, I don't know what to do. So I only got one thing, and that was my way of fixing it, was going through and finding every one of those. And it sucked. But the episode turned out great. And I think if I wouldn't have said anything, you'd have a hard time telling. But now if you go back and you listen to that episode really closely, you can probably hear places where you're like, oh yeah, I can tell that he did that now.
I mean,
It's
okay.
funny.
So if you want to have some fun, I'm sure you don't want to do this, but if you want to have some fun, I don't know how many times you listen to the episode, but it says I read when I was younger because I had some real bad memory loss stuff. Too many hits in the head, forgetting stuff's real easy,
Yeah.
names and things like
Yeah.
that. It's just, whatever. So you were taught to repeat things 11 times. And when
Okay.
when a human hears something 11 times consecutively, like in a row, it has a place in your head to where your memory starts to hold on to it a whole lot better. And you can actually, it encourages this recall center that's in the back of your brain to start engaging. Well, not in the back because you're working basically off the front, but like in the back of the front of your brain, it encourages a recall center to kick in, So I bet if you started listening to it, you could just start mouthing words within a couple minutes. If you listen to it
Oh, I
over
bet.
11 times, you'd be like,
Oh.
oh yeah, this. Like because it triggers this recall thing. So it was practices that we had to do or that I had to do. And so it's really it's really interesting. So then when you're saying that you had to listen to it that many times, like I bet you know it, dude.
I mean,
awesome.
I'd probably get that way with almost every episode we put out, just because the amount of time I spend editing them and fixing them up. Like I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've went back and listened to an episode after I've hit publish.
Oh, yeah.
I don't go back and listen to them because once it's out, I'm so done with it at that point because I've spent so much time with it. I mean, people probably don't realize I bet on a normal episode somewhere between 5 and 6 hours of prep before I even turn the microphone on, in terms of laying out the episode. I don't type a script, but I type up my notes, I guess, in terms of like almost like an outline a little bit
Yeah,
more of
outline. Yeah.
what I want to say. And I will put in there, like, not again, I'm not going to read it, but ways that I want to make sure I talk about something, or ways I want to make sure I phrase something and don't mess things up, or things like that. So the episode is basically all laid out before I hit record, and then I record it, and that's probably, I don't know, another hour and a half, and then you've probably got maybe 3 hours of editing per episode on average. So I mean, yeah, I think people don't realize how much pre stuff is done for those episodes to get ready for them, because my brain, if I just sat down and tried to start talking, it would not sound like a normal episode of Tackle Talk, because my brain would just go all over the place.
Yeah, so that's like 180 times. Like, so you're looking at, 45 minute to an hour long episode, and you're putting 9 to 11 hours into that episode each time. So you're actually putting in like 120 to 180% more time than the actual episode airs. So, okay, so let's talk about this. Now, are your episodes, do you take them on as like each one individually is something, it's its own specific project? Like, it sounds to me like you take on each one. They're not all like, it's another show, here we go. It's like each one is like its own little baby.
Yep, for the most part. There will be things that will be reoccurring that you want to hit. So like if you listen to the kind of the structure of the episode, most of the time is like, if there's anything newsworthy, it's going to be toward the front of the episode. So if there was a Elite Series event, if there was a Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour event, if there was news of a company being acquired, or, a new product coming out or something, a lot of that stuff hits at the beginning of the episode because it's just a little bit more timely. And then I also kind of wanted to make sure that anything that was semi-time sensitive, so if you're listening to an episode from 3 years ago, that everything that's not pertinent to you now, you can skip through, and at some point you're going to get to a point in the episode where it's not time sensitive, because we're going to be talking about a technique, or a review, or things like that, where it's not news anymore. So I didn't want that to be buried in the middle of episodes, where you start out with an episode from 2 years ago. Oh, cool, this is talking about a piece of tackle, or this is talking about a technique or something, and then boom, in the middle of it you get hit with something that doesn't matter anymore and mattered 2 years ago. I want all that stuff to be up at the front so that you can skip past it later down the road if you want to, and you're not like having to figure out in the episode what matters and what doesn't at that point. So that's kind of reoccurring in some episodes. And then the mailbag at the end of the episode, I kind of like that. We used to only do full mailbag episodes, and we do them like once every 2 months or 3 months or something. And I like the variety of topics, because again, I want you to listen to an episode, and even if for some reason the main topic of that episode, the middle part of the episode, doesn't apply to you, or it's something that you're not interested in, at the end of the episode, we're going to take, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 questions from listeners, and those are a hodgepodge of different topics and things like that. So again, the whole goal is like, hopefully you listen through the whole episode, there is something that's going to matter to you, even if the topic and the title of the episode doesn't matter to you. There's going to be things at the beginning and things at the end that bookend the show that could matter to you. So that's kind of like over time, the format that we've kind of ended up as. But yeah, especially that middle part is really its own baby every episode. And I'm picking some sort of topic or something that's timely for that time of year to talk about. And then we've got things coming up like the next 4 weeks where it truly is its own project. And it's like a comprehensive 4-part series that all ties into each other. And those are really nice too. But I only do those maybe once a year for those type of projects, just because it's also a pain in the tail to coordinate.
Oh, dude, bet.
Yeah. This is why when you guys do this stuff, and like you folks that always have a guest on, hats off to you. I hate scheduling guests. I hate trying to work around people's schedules. I hate trying to get a hold of people. It sucks. It might be the worst part of doing a show or a podcast or anything like that. It's just physically trying to schedule and line up and get guests, especially now because there's a trillion different people asking these people to come on things. So it's, I don't know. It's definitely harder to get guests because they're being pulled more ways, and then their schedules are more packed up, and now they just don't want to do any shows because they get asked too much and all that kind of stuff. And it's just hats off to you, because it is a giant headache. I don't know how you guys do it.
Honestly, dude, I could probably sit there and talk for 30 minutes, because ask my wife, I've done it, trying to tell her a story or explain how I'm working
It
under
sucks.
the house.
Solo stuff sucks.
I bet.
You feel like a weirdo loser doing it. Trying to have a conversation with yourself for 45 minutes sucks.
Yeah, it's not for the faint. That's why I my hat's off to you for doing that, because there's no other. I couldn't do it. I mean, I could not do it and have like some sort of substance at all. So the way you do it, I really appreciate it. Honestly, like, it was funny because so we're talking, we basically capsulated 2019 to now, but like there's been so much variety in your show. Like, I don't know if you feel like it's changed so much, not just for the better, but like the style of show that you've been doing has changed over the years to where there wasn't that format that you were talking about in the beginning.
No.
At least not that I
found it over time, for sure. Yeah.
So as you're progressing with this podcast, like, how is that helping you? Like, is it building relationships for you outside of the podcast world, like actually in fishing and in like you said, you have your job is sponsorship contracts. So I'm sure that, that's changed. That has helped you with doing stuff for your show, like the working at work, and like all that information helps you with the show. But at the same time, like, how has podcasting pushed you? Do you feel like how do I explain this? I'm sorry. I'm like, I have the ADD thing, so I have like 20 questions at once. Let me narrow it down.
Hit me with them.
Do you feel like you've progressed as a person since you started this podcast, directly resulting because of what you've been able to do with the podcast?
Yeah, I think I don't know, because I've always been confident enough to talk to people and all that kind of stuff. Like, I can do public speaking, I can do all that. That stuff doesn't really bother me, because again, I'm in sales and marketing and that type of stuff, and it's fine, right? It's just part of my job. But I think that in the fishing industry side of things, I think it's cool because we have got to make a ton of contacts, and the way that we format the show is so unique, I think, than most other people. Most other people's sponsorship contacts in the fishing industry are either past, current, or prospective sponsors. That's why they're trying to make these contacts. They're trying to meet these people, hoping that one day they will get something from them. So pro anglers are doing that. Up and coming anglers are doing that. People that have YouTubes are doing that. People that have podcasts are doing that. Everybody has an ulterior motive to get close to these people at tackle companies and rods and reels and stuff like that, because they're secretly hoping at some point that they sponsor them or give them stuff or pay them or do whatever, right? And these companies know that. And so I think with our side of things is like I genuinely have made a ton of really great contacts because we don't want anything from them. Like if I want anything from you, it's information. That's the one thing I want from you. I don't want your free gear. I don't want you to, offer to pay me or whatever, because we made a rule from day one and we've stayed to it that like we will not take a sponsorship from any rod, reel, line, or bait company. Because the second you do that, there is no tackle talk. There's no tackle talk presented by Daiwa. It doesn't work, right? Because then your content is going to be either directly or indirectly influenced by one of the people that you are supposed to be comparing objectively to the rest of the industry. So it just doesn't work. So on that front, bad business decision by me to make a show that basically mandates that you cannot partner with 95% of the industry you're talking about. That was dumb. Business side of things, very dumb. But for integrity of the show side of things, I think long term it was smart. And you're starting to see more and more people realize that this is a thing and lean into the unbiased side of things, because I think it works. I think the amount of people that we've talked to, the amount of friends that I've been able to make, I know somebody at almost darn near every rod, reel, line, bait, apparel, whatever company known to man at this point, because we don't work with like any of them, for the like in a traditional sense. Now we do have partners on the show. You have to have partners on the show to make it work. I've got expenses out the wazoo, from hosting fees to website fees to equipment and software and all kinds of stuff. So you do have to pay the bills for it. So ALF and Dakota and Mossy Oak and stuff, like they all help us do that. But like I can call right now if I wanted to call somebody at Lose or Strike King or Berkeley or whatever. Like you all these people, and I think they respect the fact that, hey, this kid's just trying to do his best to talk about gear, and he will say what he likes and what he doesn't like, and some people take that better than others. There's definitely some companies that I'm never going to get. I say this a lot. Like there's companies that I don't think I'll ever get a Christmas card from, because I've said what I think about their product. And some companies take that really well. Some companies are like, no, I want the constructive feedback, and they actually can handle it. And then there's a lot of companies that are just used to every single piece of PR that hits the internet, or anybody talking about anything is positive because you sent them that reel for free, or you sent them that rod for free to talk about. And the consumer or the person watching the YouTube video doesn't know that, but they do. So there's all that kind of stuff. But no, we've been able to meet a lot of really cool people just because we're just trying to be a genuinely good, entertaining show. And I don't want anything from most of these people.
Okay, so you kind of said exactly what I was trying to ask, and it's helped me narrow it down. Do you feel a boost in your integrity being able to tell the truth on a regular basis? Do you feel a confidence boost in that?
Yeah. And we've had to, I mean, I can't say it, but I've had to say no to a lot of things that I think a lot of people would like lose their mind over hearing about. But because it's just, dude, if you say yes to it, it sounds like a good opportunity, right then and there. But when you sit there and you think about it, your integrity's gone. Or I'm not going to risk that, right? I spent 5 years trying to do this the right way and figure out how to make a good, unbiased, entertaining, educational show. And I'm not going to throw that away for a couple bucks or whatever that, you know, someone's waving in your face at the time. But yeah, you have to be smart about what you do and what you don't do. And it is very awesome to be able to flip on the microphone and know that nobody is even remotely controlling what I can and can't say, to the point. So when we're talking right now, so obviously it's going to be, you know, a week or two later, but the last episode that we came out with was about Dobbins rods, and I got to sit down and say what I thought about a current situation. And if you want to think about that, I said that, and my title sponsor, American Legacy Fishing, sells a lot of Dobbins rods. And I thought about that, and I texted Brian over at ALF, and after it came out, I was like, "Hey, I probably should have checked with you just to, you know, make sure that everything was okay here." But like, it's what I was feeling at the time, and everybody's asking about it, and I feel like you have to address it. I've recommended these rods for so many years, and so many people have questions that you just somewhat have to keep people informed. And he said something to the tune of, "If I ever tell you what to talk about or not to talk about, come in here and punch me in the face," is more or less what he said. And I was like, I appreciate that so much, because I can sit here and I can talk about the good and the bad. You can't have good without the bad, unfortunately. And so you do have to talk about that stuff. And unfortunately, in fishing, very few people will, because they, you know, you're not going to hear people break down the differences in reel A or B because they're sponsored by reel A. So even though they may throw out some, like, you know, some fake negatives or whatever, just to make it seem like that it's an unbiased thing or something, but it's not real, right? They're getting paid or free gear or something. Like, it's just all that behind the scenes stuff sucks. And I just want to avoid it as much as possible. And it's kind of what I've hoped to do with this show a little bit.
Dude, and you totally have. And that's what I was saying. Like, your integrity shines through. So like, I hope you've had like a boost in confidence, or you feel more comfortable being able to do that on a regular, like it, and even continuing it on for the next 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Because you've been doing it now 5 years. So the next 5 years, like, I feel like you should be proud of that. And I was just curious if you still were, you know?
Yeah, it honestly just causes me less stress, because I don't have to worry about what I can and can't talk about. That's what it would cause me more than anything. Would just be like, oh crap, am I allowed to say this? Am I not allowed to say this? I'm worried about this. I'm worried about that. I love just like, dude, it does matter. Talk whatever you want to talk about.
Dude, have you ever, besides this show, have you ever gone on another show and been like afraid after you were like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or, you know, like,
oh, a little bit. Yeah, I've definitely had that before, where it's like in the moment you sort of panic, and because again, I'm just so used to control. The thing that stresses me out is not having control. Like when I go on, you know, I've been on like with Ken and Brian and stuff, like on Bass After Dark or whatever, and you get into some heated conversations and that type of stuff. They've done it on purpose. I think they've invited me to 2 very contentious episodes, which I love. It's really fun, and you get to like bounce back and forth with Mark Jeffries and stuff. And that's always a good time. But there is a little bit like after that, you'd be like, oh God, like what did I say? Or what, I don't know. I just kind of black out, and you're just talking to somebody and, you know, making your point or whatever it may be. So yeah, it stresses me out a little bit, because on my show, like if I say something stupid or something that I probably shouldn't have said, well, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to probably take that out and, you know, think twice before it actually hits the airwaves. So yeah, there's a little bit of stress for sure. I don't like live things. I've said that before for sure.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of lives. I've done a couple, and it's just like, well, that's what you got. And I'm not even going to look at that later, because I don't want to know. I actually just did one for New Year's, and it was
it's stressful, dude.
I haven't watched it. I know we were all joking. I may have been a little bit darker on the humor than I normally am. I try and keep my humor and my jabs, because it's more of a jab at your buddy show. I tried to keep them pretty mellow. I have no idea. I don't even want to watch it. You know, I love those guys to death, though. They're awesome. So I totally did it. So here you are. You've got a significantly successful show. You've been able to travel. It's taking, like you said, it's starting to pay your bills. You're still working your regular job. Like, are you like me and you're never going to quit the regular one?
I'm too big of a pansy. Yeah. I won't do it. I'm a safety net kid through and through. Like, I mean, I don't know. I definitely have a hard time taking the leap of faith on certain things for sure. And I play it safe in my whole life with almost everything that I do. So yeah, it's like as long as you can do both and you can do them both great, and I'm not taking away from one or the other, like I'm not, slacking at my day job because of this. I'm just doing it in my other free time. And you know, I don't know, as an employer, if I had two employees and they were both working the same amount of hours and doing the same amount of work, but one of them goes home and sits on the couch and does nothing all day, and the other one tries to do something, constructive with his time. Okay, I see that as like a positive thing. So, I don't know. I don't think I am at the point where I feel confident in jumping yet. Because the other thing is like stuff could end any day. Like, sponsors could end any day. The show could end any day. I could say something stupid and it's over. Like, I mean, it's not a safe thing to put all of your eggs in this basket.
No. I was just curious because I mean, I do the Kayak City stuff on the side and like have fun with that, and I get to do this and I get to do a bunch of other stuff, which is super fun. But like, I would never walk away from what I do normally. Like that puts everything on the table. At the end of the day, the only thing that's going to stop me is like, knock on wood, barring like some significant injury, But I was just curious if like you ever felt like I could do this, just this.
Gun to my head, if you made me, yeah, we could. But I just don't. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the like take risk. I'm gonna put out the video. I quit my job today, and here's like I'm not that guy. It's just not me.
Yeah, good.
I quit my job to be a full-time fishing, and you can too. Like that's not me.
Well, you're also like, because I've met you in person, we've talked many times. You're a super humble individual. Like, if you were not, if I did not know who you were and I saw you walking around the expo, you would not be walking like, oh, I do the Tackle Talk podcast or what's up. Like, you don't do that. You never have. Like, you're like the most.
I believe the term is I try not to be a douchebag. Yeah.
What? I just think it's genuine humility. Like, I just think you're a humble ass dude, and like it's just I respect it. I think it's awesome. Like, so how do you feel that being in media has changed your relationships with the people you know?
No, like in fishing?
Yeah. Not the sponsors, not Lose, not that the other. I'm talking about the guys that you have been fishing with for years or not been fishing with, and all of a sudden they're now like, what's up, bro? Da, 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 let's hang out, let's fish, let's do this. Like,
yeah.
How are you handling all these relationships? Because I know you're decent enough to me to DM back, and I appreciate it. But
so ironically, like I really don't have people that come up and like try and act like they were all buddies with you when they weren't buddies with you before, that type of thing. And my regular friends, I mean, like they could freaking care less that I have this show. Really, like it's like, are we going fishing today or not? Like I don't give a darn about the rest of stuff. Like, I mean, I fish with Ryan all day or Jeff or whatever. Like they don't care. The only weird thing for them, like Jeff was saying one time, like he'll go and he was at work one day and someone was talking about something. They were talking about fish and they were talking about the one buddy that he was with was like, oh, I listened to the show from a guy that's actually around here. He's like, oh yeah, what? And he's like, yeah, it's called Tackle Talk. He's from Dayton, and he's like, that's like my best friend. And he goes, you're his buddy Jeff? like I didn't realize that was you, Jeff. Yeah, it's like that kind of stuff. That's funny, but no, I don't really think it's changed. If anything, I think that I probably have all of my friends in the fishing industry because of this show. Like, it's how I met most of them. Like, I met past guests. I mean, I've met all the pro guys that we know, or the biologists, or the people at the companies. Like, they would have had no reason to talk to me if I wasn't trying to do the show, I guess, or anything. So I probably wouldn't have met any of them, to be honest. So I'm definitely more thankful for like all the people that we've met through this. And I've got, I don't know, hundreds of new friends because of this show from all walks of life and all places that I would have never crossed. I would have never crossed paths with you in my entire life. You live in California, I live in Ohio. What would have been the odds that we would have ever met? But through this weird fishing thing, like, we become really good friends. Like, that's the type of thing that I'm really thankful for. This whole thing is people that, like Ryan, I've said this before, like Ryan, one of my best friends in the whole world, I would have never met. We would have never crossed paths. Two completely different groups of people that we hung out with and lifestyles and everything. And, it just brings everybody together. So I think that's probably the other side of it, is I'm just more thankful for all the friends that it has made me.
Yeah, dude. Like, this is the most genuine group of people, like,
Oh,
to
yeah.
be honest. Like, I mean, I'm sure hunting does. I don't hunt. And I'm sure there's other things that do that I've never done, but I mean, all the industries and all the groups of friends that I've, met throughout the years, like, this is the most genuine group. Like,
Yeah.
I've been talking to people nonstop for the last week because Columbus is coming. I will be there. I will see you there. I'll
Yeah.
probably be annoying you. Like, I'll be sorting out hooks
Come
in your
on
booth or
over.
something again.
This
I'll
would be
be over
great.
there. I'll just be digging through tackle at your booth or whatever, whatever it happens to be.
I'm taking this. I'm taking this.
Yeah.
I'm taking this. Taking this.
So, right. But no, like, everybody is just so like, are you coming? Like, I can't wait to hang out with you and see you. And I'm just like, dude, me too. Like, I love this community. Like, everybody here is just so honest and open armed. Like, it's super cool. There are
Yeah.
guys that are not open armed. I'm friends with them too. So to a certain point, we don't have to hug, but
it's
yeah.
it's like it is a little bit like, to go back to what we started about at the first part. Like, it is a little high schooly, but just, I think both of us and a lot of people that we know and have surrounded are in the good clique of people. Like, I think there definitely are factions of fishing that are not a fun place to be or involved with, and most of that is on the more quote unquote like industry side, like the
Yes.
companies and the tournament side of things and the pro side of things. It sucks through there a lot of times. But this side of things, I love the, like, true, guys and girls that actually love the sport of fishing, are eager to learn more, are trying to meet new people and have fun, and like just trying to find people that share common interests with them. That side of fishing is super cool. And that's the side that I think both of us have kind of fell into a little bit. Just, I know the friends that you hang out with, I know the friends that I hang out with, a lot of those overlap, and it is a good, solid group of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude. So it's getting late, and I know I want to keep this going. I want to keep trust me, I want to keep you all night, trust me. But I know you have a trip tomorrow, right?
I'm gonna just drive up and do some ice fishing. So yeah,
That scares the life
it's
out
not
of
like it is not a trip. It is like it's Saturday and there's no open water, so I'm gonna drive like 40 minutes and drill some holes.
So you make that sound so nice, but to me, that is like the scariest thing I could ever think of. I would not be on top of ice.
Oh, it's so much fun. We'll be on, this is not great to say. We'll probably be on like maybe 3 inches of ice tomorrow.
So from what I heard, that's safer ice, but that's not necessarily.
It's safe-ish, lowercase s.
Oh,
Yeah,
so like
it's
the SUS
yeah,
spot
yeah,
safe-ish. So
yeah.
suspectly, yeah, okay. Cool. All right.
We should be okay. There will definitely be parts of the lake that are not okay. There will be parts of the lake that probably have a little bit of open water, but no, we're gonna find some ice. We'll be all right. I don't weigh that much either, so it's not like I'm 300 pounds and going out there. Like, I can get away with it a little bit easier than some people, but
I'd probably go through. It could be 6 inches of ice, and somehow my lucky ass would.
no,
right
you can
through.
drive a car on 6 inches of ice. You're good.
No.
Yeah.
I just got comfortable on top of the water. I'm not trying to stand on it while it freezes. All right. Like,
All right, fair
I'm
enough.
okay there. But all right. So I got like a list of questions that I kind of just usually wrap up with. And it doesn't have to be rapid fire, because I'll probably ask you a bunch in between there. But we're going to start with the first one, which is spend a day with, and it doesn't have to be fishing. This has nothing to do. It doesn't have to have anything to do with fishing. Spend a day with anyone. Who would it be? Just
Alive or dead or both?
Anyone. You could say John Lennon, anyone.
Okay, I feel like I have to say Jesus one. I'm gonna go Jesus one. Also fished, so we got something in common there. I'm gonna go
He was a
more like
multi-species guy.
Yeah, he was more on the men side of things, like fishing for men.
But he caught fish too.
Fisher of men, I think.
Yes,
I don't know. I'm doing I'm in day whatever it is now, day 11 of trying to read the whole Bible in 1 year. So,
my wife's doing
we'll see if it happens. But yeah, what?
My wife just did that last year, and
Did she?
Yeah, she did not complete, but she's still reading. She's like in. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that's sick. Yes.
Yeah. I'm trying. I've like tried 3 or 4 times in my life to do it, and I've got like different degrees of percentages into it, but I think the most I've ever made is probably like a fourth of the way through. So I'm gonna try this time. But so that's my number one. I'm gonna say number two, spend a day with anyone. I mean, there's the family stuff that's like, yeah, I would kill for another day with like my pop or my other grandpa or people like that for sure. Just pure interesting, fun to hang out with. Man, I don't know. I don't want to do like the fishing people. The more I've learned over the past couple of years, like I don't think I would use my pass on most of them. I think I like stand-up comedy stuff, so maybe a comedian, maybe like, Dave Chappelle, who actually lives like 30 minutes from me, or like someone like that. Like I think just like laugh your tail off all day, have fun, don't take anything seriously, just have a good time. Like you could take someone like that, or Shane Gillis or something like out fishing and just have fun and just
Yeah.
laugh your tail off and don't think too much of it. Like that, I don't know. I'd probably do something like that. I'm not like a real sentimental type guy or anything like that. So I just like to go have a good time and have fun.
Dude, solid. I mean,
Who's yours?
Chappelle used to skate, so that's awesome. He's not your interview, buddy.
I gotta get one in here.
Dude, all right. If I could spend a day with anyone, I'll give you this one.
Tony Hawk.
No. No.
You probably already have.
We'll talk later. Let's see. You kind of took mine, but I have like, so let's be honest. Let's open up the gate real quick. I'm struggling when it comes to this faith thing, and it's I was born into Christianity. Like I was born. We were at the church 3 to 5 times a week. Like my dad worked there when he wasn't at work. Like I grew up in the church, and I grew up in Christianity, and it's the actual Christian religion, not like some sort of subsidiary. Because there's a lot of versions of Jesus. But I turned my life over to Christ as a young child, and like I did everything that I was encouraged to do, and then I definitely took a totally different road in life, and I had some experiences where like I technically lost my life for a few minutes at a time. And so like, and ever since then, like my struggle with my faith has been real. Like it has been real. And it's not like I go to bed every day going, Jesus isn't real or Jesus is real. I have so many questions. And I don't need to see you turn water to wine, dude. I don't.
Yeah.
But I have so many questions. And I know that like the Lord puts people in your life to be able to explain these answers. Right. I understand that is a real thing as well, because it's happened. Like there's stuff in my life I shouldn't be alive. There's a God. Like I should not be alive right now. There is a God, and he was looking out for me. I didn't get the angel. I got the full deal. And I just have so many questions, and sometimes, like I said, I paint with a broad brush, so the questions don't get answered exactly how they come off in my head. And there's just so many things that I want to be like, okay, well, times and this, that, and the other. I just need answers. And if that would be my guy, like, cause I just have so many questions, and I just need some answers. So if we're being totally vulnerable and open here, that's exactly what it would be for me. So you took my guy, but thank you.
It would, it would be crazy. It would be awesome just to, I don't know. The whole faith thing is so interesting to me. Like again, same thing. I grew up going to church twice a week, probably like Sunday and Wednesday. You go Wednesday night and Sunday morning, and Methodist is what I grew up. But you look at every religion in the world, and they overlap by like 80%. It's like that's not a coincidence, right? Like there's a lot of truth to this. There's just some differing opinions on the fringes of the big picture. Like the big picture seems to be pretty set in terms of what we think is probably going on here in this whole deal.
Right.
We just argue over the details. But like, you know, I've started trying to figure out personally, like if we're being honest for a second, like I've thought about, I don't know if I'm gonna do it. I'm doing my own sort of research, but like converting to Catholicism, like the way more like my dad was Catholic growing up. Like it strikes me as the more traditional version of a lot of things, and it doesn't really change a whole lot about what I believe because I pretty much already believe 99.9% of that type of stuff anyway. It's just a little bit more structured, and it's the way that everything's always been, and there's more tradition to it, and it, yeah, I don't know. I'm one of those people that likes that kind of stuff. I'm one of those people that thinks, hey, if this is how it was done for, you know, thousands of years, well, then there's probably a good reason why it lasted that long. So,
and it's still going. Like there's
Yeah.
merit. Yeah. No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Like, and that's
so
what
that's
these
what
are the
I'm working on
questions.
right now.
Like,
Yeah.
you're nailing some of the questions. I'm like, hey man, which one? Like,
Yeah.
please help me here. Like, just narrow this down for me. Now, mind you, I am zero the example to follow. Just if anybody is listening to this at all, I'm like, oh, okay, Dave's a Christian. I absolutely am, and I'm not afraid to say that. But I will also say this: I am not the leading example of what a Christian
No one
should
is.
be.
Yeah.
I swear a lot, and if I get super nervous, I end up smoking some cigarettes. It's just what I
Rip a
do.
couple darts
Because
and we're good. Yeah.
yeah, rip a couple lung darts and just move on because there's been different things. Lung darts is the least of my worries. So I'm a terrible example of what I believe because I'm struggling to figure exactly what exactly I should be doing. And I feel like
It's all levels though, dude. Like, yeah, okay, you cuss and you rip a couple darts and whatever, you have some slip ups or something. You're on the giant scale of things you could be doing and things that are going wrong. You're doing pretty good, man. Like
right,
it's all perspective. Yeah.
true. But when we go
Yeah.
to church on Sunday and my wife's there talking to her women's group, and I'm sitting there talking to one of the guys, and I'm like, this effing mother effer, and da, 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 da. And he's just smiling, and I'm like, I'm that asshole right now. Okay. So, like there's, like you said, there's levels, but
Yeah.
I also
We're all working on them.
I don't fake the front, and I'm not about
Yeah.
to for even the pastor. So okay, next question. Let's just move right out of this. Biggest fear. Like, I know that's a broad brush, but
Okay, I don't know if it's I guess it technically is a fear. I don't know. I have one of the weirdest like actual phobias probably you'll hear. It's called like I think it's called animal phobia is the actual word for it. I have a fear of looking up at tall objects. Like I can't stand under a skyscraper and look up at it. I can't look directly up at an airplane flying overhead or something. There's just something I can't do it. I can't look up at something tall.
Okay, first off, you love planes and you can't watch
Also
them
true.
fly.
I can
Yeah,
watch them fly. I can't look at something directly up.
Oh, okay. Okay. So
Can't do it.
it's almost the opposite of when people look down and
Oh
they
yeah.
have a fear of heights.
It's almost the complete reverse of being like I love roller coasters. I love being on tall things, looking down, doesn't bother me one bit, but I can't be under that roller coaster, directly under the roller coaster looking up at the tall hill. Can't do it.
Do you get like weak in the knees about it, or is
Oh
it
yeah.
like
Yeah,
okay,
it's just
okay,
like
yeah. It's
woozy,
a full physical
dizzy type
reaction.
feel. Yeah, that type of thing. It's not like there's no it's super irrational because like I'm not afraid the building's gonna fall on me or anything. Like there's nothing, there's no repercussion to it. It's just I look at it and it sends me, like I said, I just want to freaking hurl. Can't do it.
Dude, not even gonna.
Weird.
No, it's not. It's not. Okay, so
That definitely is weird. There's no reason for it.
it's not as common as fear of heights.
Yeah.
That's all it is, because it's the same reaction into somebody who has a fear of heights. It's like they have physical reaction to it. Like it is beyond mental.
But even with them, I can at least rationalize that because okay, you're afraid you're gonna fall and die. I understand that a little bit. Like if you're in an airplane looking down, you can't do it. Well, yeah, you're afraid the airplane's gonna crash or like that type of thing. There's no reason for me to be scared of a tall building.
No, dude. So
I'm
okay,
afraid
so
it's gonna fall.
you're having a physical reaction. So you have a when you look up, you lose your equilibrium. So that's your body telling you that something's off. So automatically there's going to be some sort of small inset fear in there that can grow over time.
Yeah, it's weird. But then I looked it up one day
I'm
and I was like, oh,
justifying it
there's a
for you.
name for it. So I'm not the only one in the world that has it. So all right, we'll take it.
I'm just justifying it for you. It's all good, dude.
Yeah.
I don't like spiders in small spaces. So because
Okay.
I have a Star Wars scene where they're getting squished or whatever in that compactor.
I've never seen a second of Star Wars.
Hold up. First off, I'm guessing you're not because you like factual stuff, so you're not into fiction. But Star Wars is like a staple.
I promise you, I bet in my whole life, movies that I've seen, like and actually watched, like a full movie of, I bet it's under 25.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't watch movies.
Okay, you can sit through a full sports game.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So it's not like an attention thing. It's like literally just like zero interest.
Don't like them. We never really grew up watching movies. There was no movie theater in our town. Like that was a thing. It just wasn't a big deal. And then I don't like the thought of dedicating an hour and a half to 2.5 hours of my time to something I might not like. With sports, I like the team. It's an unknown outcome. I'm going to be entertained. I might not like the outcome, but I will enjoy the act of watching the sporting event. Music, you go to a concert. I love going to concerts because I know I like the band and I know what I'm going to see and I have a great time. I hate the thought of sitting through a 2-hour movie and getting to the end and being like, that sucked. I could have done something else with that 2 hours.
I cannot believe I didn't see this before. Like you've been screaming this the whole time. So, dude, not to sound gay. I was just talking to my wife. We were talking about love languages the other day. Your love language is literally quality time.
Yeah, for the most part, probably.
Yeah. Okay, it's a good chunk of it because, like, when you are investing time and you are spending time, like that is the biggest quality that you could give to someone.
Oh yeah, and I'm not wasting it. Like that's the thing. If I'm doing something, I'm doing it. So
dude, I love that. I love that. So that makes total sense too, because like you said, you grew up in a town. You guys didn't have movie theaters, so it wasn't like you guys sat and vegged out for an hour together. You guys were out there staring at clouds or going jumping through a creek, jumping bikes. Like you were doing something together. You were spending time. Like that's okay. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry,
like I've never been a video game person or anything like that. Like I don't like the thought of wasting time on something pointless. I want there to be a point for what I'm dedicating that time to. And that's just how my brain is wired, I guess. I don't know.
Yep. I do not do video games either, but the only time I did it once because I fractured a little thing in my spine and I had to sit for like 6 months, but I just played video games. And then after
I was
healed, I couldn't sit down ever again.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Yeah.
I need to go do things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. Okay. So looking up biggest fear.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. Okay. This question, I'm going to tell you this question was inspired by you because you would talk about things and then I would go get them. And because I would listen to your podcast, and so I'd get these lures, and then I would get more, and then I was like, I didn't have these two. I saw these two colors. Oh, I need to get those two colors too. So this next question is roundabout dedicated to you because of you. I don't think you've ever had this experience, but have you ever like missed a bill or been broke because of fishing? Have you ever been like, oh, I spent too much money on worms, I'm gonna have to get gasoline next week?
Not because of fishing. No, I've definitely been pretty broke before, but not necessarily because of fishing. So like, a good example. So like I have a music background of things too. So like growing up, the most expensive things that I owned were probably like my guitars, my amps, stuff like that. Like I was in, bands growing up and stuff like that. So like the musical instrument stuff was probably like my most prized possession stuff. And when I started my internship at where I work now at the Dragons, I worked for a year and a half, almost 2 years unpaid. It was an internship, like back when internships were internships. You didn't get paid for internships. This was so I would drive from Washington Courthouse to Dayton and back every day. And I wasn't getting paid and I was working 40, 50 hours a week at the ballpark. And I still remember this. I sold like 2 of my favorite amps, one of my favorite guitars just to pay for gas money to get to and from my job, which paid me $0 because it was an internship at the time. So like I've definitely been I've not had a lot of money, but it wasn't because of fishing. No, like I'm fairly responsible when it comes to my fishing spending. Especially the past couple of years, I've got to the point where I accumulated a ton of tackle, a ton of gear and stuff, and now I'm at the point where I'm trying to tone it down and use what I have. I've tried to really do that the past year, where yes, I still buy some stuff to try out and have fun and talk about on the show and stuff, but for the most part, I'm trying to get creative and trying to use things that I already have in my garage or in my room here or things like that, and try and not so much give them away or resell them or things, like truly use them, dude. You bought them for a reason. Go out there and catch fish on them.
Yep. Yeah. No. Okay. So all I'm saying is I had to learn how to allocate funds. I had to budget for fishing. I never budgeted for fishing before. And then when I got into fishing, I didn't realize that when you buy like,
I've seen that kayak.
20 packs of the kayak, totally different. That's not, there's no budget on the kayak because I don't have to spend money. I'm so happy.
But I know you're getting, I know that some of that kind of stuff costs pretty penny.
Yeah. I've seen that.
I know there's gonna be a lot of stuff in that kayak that's going to cost some money.
Yeah. Yep.
You got a lot of rod holders. You got a lot of storage for tackle. You got.
Yeah. And I just, everybody's got their particular. I've been the guy that's left the one thing I needed at home one too many times. So.
Yep. Same. Biggest fear.
Yep. Oh, biggest fear. There you go.
That's probably my biggest fishing fear for sure. My biggest fishing fear would be getting out, 3 miles into a 7-mile kayak trip. You see the juiciest eddy of all time, and in your brain, you know exactly what you want to throw right there, and you don't have it.
Yep.
And you spend the whole rest of the day going, dude, if I'd have had that, if I'd have had that chartreuse glide right there to throw along that lay down or whatever, I'd have caught a 5-pounder today. But I didn't have it with me. It's sitting on my,
I know
dresser
exactly
at home
where it's sitting. Yeah, exactly. Yep. I do the same
fishing wise, I think that probably is. Yeah, if I had to pick a fishing fear, that's probably it. I'm a pack rat.
Yeah, same, dude. Same.
Yeah.
So okay, I mean, I hate to extend this just a little bit, but I totally missed something that I meant to talk about earlier because I have watched you play guitar many a times. Like you're not shy about it. Like you put it out there and you're ripping. So how does that fit into everything? Like you said, you were in bands and stuff. Like was that like your side passion outside of fishing? Like was that your main thing before fishing, or still
before fishing? For sure, it was music side of things too. So I play electric guitar, acoustic guitar, a little bit of mandolin. I play bass. Obviously, that's easy. But like I try to learn some piano. I can play a little bit of piano. I've been a fairly musical person for a lot of my life. I can't sing worth a darn, but I can play instruments and stuff. Okay. So, but yeah, growing up, like in high school, we had a rock band that we would play around like Southern Ohio and stuff with. And then when I went to college, we still played a little bit. Obviously we kind of all went our separate ways and stuff. But then like in college, there would be nights where I would play for, like I had a friend and she was a singer. So like we would go play the bars and stuff and I would play acoustic for her, and you get, whatever it is, 50 cents a head that comes in and a free bar tab for the night, and you're having a pretty good night and everything's great. So yeah, music side of things was always great. Actually, if you want some funny things, if you go, I bet they're still on. You go on like YouTube and just search my name and guitar. There are definitely going to be some like old guitar covers pop up like from back in the day. Yeah.
To do that.
They're definitely going to be.
Yeah. No, I the other day I was like, because you and me had planned to do this earlier on in the year, and so I had like Googled you because I was like, well, if he's really set in his like, he knows how to question people, so let me find something somewhere.
Oh boy!
And the only thing dude, I trust me, I didn't find
you find it. Did you find him?
No, but I wasn't Googling Andrew Hayes guitar.
Oh, well,
I was actually finding out that like I found out that you did the advertising management at the VP advertising it, and I was like, oh, and I found your little picture where you're sitting in the bleachers, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna use this somewhere somehow.
Yep.
But that was it, dude.
Glamour like, shots.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not good at seeking information unless it's on like I don't know, Telegram or something.
But yeah, guitar's great. It gives me something to do like in the wintertime too. Like I honestly don't pick my guitars up too much now in like the summer and stuff. Obviously I just don't have time. And all of that, and are loud, and all that good stuff. But in the wintertime too, I'll pick them up a lot more. You're stuck inside, you're doing a lot more inside. So yeah,
Now, are you
this is
full
the
on
time of year where it
shredding?
happens more.
Are you full on just shredding in your room, or are you just picking, sitting on the couch, the wife's reading her book, you're just picking away?
I can do both for sure. Like it depends. I'm definitely not the guy that's like, oh yeah, let me break out the acoustic guitar while she's sitting on the couch and play.
No, that's not what I meant.
Or whatever. No, definitely that's never been me.
Just put on a long hair.
I honestly don't even really like playing acoustic. Like I will play acoustic if I have to, or again, like back when we used to play the bars and stuff, and you have to play all those silly cover songs that she wants to sing, and like that's fine. But no, I'm definitely more of a electric guy. And yeah, I love playing everything. I'll play everything from metal to like, picking country type stuff, like a little bit of everything. Blues, I love blues. I love like Clapton, like newer bluesy guitar riffs too. So Clapton and Mayer and all that kind of stuff. I think all that stuff's fun. But Stevie Ray Vaughan, that type of old Texas kind of bluesy stuff. So yeah, I like all that stuff. It's I definitely don't play as much as I used to. I've probably gotten a little rustier than I used to be, but it is still fun to break out every once in a while and be like, I can still do this if I want to.
You ever listen to that band? I think they're like from Iceland or something, the Kaleo. Like they came over, they sound like perfectly good English, all that kind of stuff. They're kind of, they got a bluesy, they got kind of like a bluesy sound to them. But and they have a song, it got real popular, whatever. Their album is nuts. Like the music, like the it's pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's a vibe. The whole album's a vibe. So
I see it right here. Kaleo.
Yeah. They're from somewhere else, but like
yeah, I'm way down where you go.
Yeah. But no, don't worry about that song. You can skip that song. That's like one of the two
but
songs
that's them,
you can skip on the whole album. Yes. Yeah. That's I would never try and repeat that. You sound better than I do, trust me.
No.
But yeah, I sound like somebody stepping on a dog, so but
you and me both, brother.
Yeah. So, but yeah, dude, I don't know. Like their album's a vibe for sure. I don't know if you've ever listened to it, but if you skip that song, just start at the first song because that's not the first song, and it's a vibe for sure. It's tight. But anyways, back to the questions so you can get out of here. I'm so sorry.
Dude, take your time. I got no bedtime.
Well, I know, but it's late for you, dude. And I know you don't sleep.
I'm trying
to give you a night where you can't
sleep when we're dead.
Yeah. I said that. I said that a lot of things are going to change in a couple years, buddy. I swear. All right. Your biggest struggle in life right now, like what is your biggest your biggest struggle in life right now?
I think it's time management for sure. Like I just think I definitely spread myself too thin sometimes. Just with everything, right? Family stuff, job, show, fishing stuff, just there's not enough hours in the day. So that's a little tougher too. And then obviously a kid now. So like there's that side of things too, where it's like you have to be a dad. You have to life changes a ton. If I wasn't busy enough before having a kid, like you got a kid, now stuff really changes. So yeah, there's I don't know. I think time management is definitely my biggest struggle for sure. And I think I've done pretty well with it for everything trying to juggle. It's just it's always a little bit of a struggle. And I say luckily my wife, she's great about it and she helps me be able to do this kind of stuff. And there are weekends a year where I'm not going to be home and I've got to go to ICAST for 3 days or the Classic for 4 days or the Columbus Expo is coming up. I'll be out of town for 3 days, like that kind of stuff. And she holds it down while I'm out of here. So she definitely helps on that side of things for sure. Wouldn't be able to do it without her. But yeah, that's probably the biggest struggle is just finding enough hours to do everything that I want and need to do.
Yeah, dude.
I think it's everybody's struggle for the most part. So like, I'm not the only one. Not woe is me. Everybody is in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I boo hoo, man. You're busy. Everybody's busy. Shut up. Yeah. I can hear people in their car right now being like, "Oh, so you have a job and you're tired." Oh,
bro, the 5 people that listen to this show are not going to give you a hard time.
All 5 of them right now are like, "Oh, quit it." So I'll let you know I am self-aware enough to know that yes, that was a lame thing to complain about, but it is probably my biggest struggle.
It's real, and that's kind of the point of this whole show is like let's talk about what's real. Let's not,
Yeah.
you know, we could talk about accolades all day, but like, I mean, the fact that you're a father now, dude, is like, how was
Yeah.
that jump? Like, was it just an instantaneous shock for you? Because I know we've talked about it a little bit, but like, was it an instantaneous shock for you, or has it been like progressively just like one of the most awesome things, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I don't it wasn't a shock really because obviously we
You have
waited.
9 months.
Well,
Yeah.
well, yeah, and we waited plenty. I mean, we've been dating for I don't know, darn near my whole life. It feels like at this point. So I mean, like it really
Yeah.
is. I mean, we're probably getting to the
Yeah.
point where we've almost dated for more of our lives than we hadn't. Like
Yeah.
we're probably right around there somewhere. So yeah, it's not like it was like oh came out of nowhere sort of thing. It was probably more on like people were sitting there thinking, guys, what's
Yeah.
going on here? So no,
Always
it's
awkward Thanksgiving.
yeah, it's just you know how it is, man, too. Like your life just completely changes like
Yep.
overnight. It's like, oh,
Yep.
this whole thing is not about me anymore at all. It's not about me one bit anymore. It's about this little dude. So yeah. But it's been great. It gives you more meaning. Obviously, I know everybody, I'm not gonna get too cheesy on it, but it really is like it's your whole life means 50 times more than it did before.
Yeah, you said
Yeah.
it this best because I have found meaning in once I had my son and now I have my daughter. Like my life meaning is even evolved even more. Like I was not
Yeah.
much of an emotional person. I was emotionally retarded. So like we've talked, I compartmentalize really well.
Yeah.
So I was emotionally retarded, and then I had a son, and then all of a sudden I'm like crying on a semi-regular basis. I didn't understand, and I had to actually talk to somebody about
Yeah.
like, oh, because your heart is open
Yeah.
because you've never been emotionally attached
You're a
like that.
human.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I was like, oh hey. But dude, like I could go catch a 9-pound fish tomorrow. I'd be stoked.
Yeah.
Watch my son catch a 6-inch fish. It's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Like it's
That's
and
what I'm so
I'm just
jacked
using
for.
fishing. I'm
Yeah.
just using fishing as the example. My daughter today, like I was like, come on, let's go. We got to go. And she just turned and went, okay. And she never
Yeah.
said that before. And I was like, and she just said it like so normal, just walked right by me, little waddle. You know, I was like,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
like, little things like that. I'm like, ah. But when I get done with this show and she's still not asleep, I'm gonna be like, you little
Yeah.
We're gonna
Exactly.
go for a
But people
ride,
don't
right?
like I mean, I never really I hated kids up until I had a kid. Like I would have been the guy like, I hate children. They have no redeeming qualities. They're loud, they're annoying, they stink, they don't let you do what you want to do. Obviously, they take up all your time, they're expensive. Like I would have been that guy. And then
Yep.
you have one, you're like, just kidding, coolest darn thing in the world, and you just don't understand it till you
Until
have
it
had
happens.
one.
Yep, absolutely.
No matter how much you think you do or how much you try and put yourself in people's shoes and understand and be like, yeah, I get it, right? It's your own flesh and blood, that type of stuff. It's gonna be big. You no clue until it happens. And you're like, oh, this is just a completely different thing that it opens up in you as a person, which is great. But then also it rounds back to, okay, dude, if you thought you didn't have any time before,
Yes. Yep.
welcome to the world, my man. Now you really don't have any time.
Welcome to the struggle. And now
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I've looked back at like guys that I've worked with for years or whatever, and they've been parents, like their kids are grown now, like
Yeah.
adults, like they have their own kids and stuff. And I was like always like, oh man, get up, dude. You're being lazy. Come on, let's do it. And like I didn't realize how tired you really get.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's a whole different type of tough, dude. When those guys
Yeah.
come through and they just grind and they got 3 kids at home, I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever, dude. You're nuts.
Yep.
I'll touch you with a 10-foot pole. Now I feel bad for talking smack back then. So,
Yep.
all right. So, I mean, we kind of talked about it, but I'm sure there's more. Your major life accomplishment, like I call them a life hammer. Like in skateboarding, you call it a hammer when you like land like some obliterating trick that like what wouldn't be now called going viral, but like at the time it was like a game changer or like just a showstopper. So, what's your life hammer?
I don't want this to sound like it may sound, but like I've prided myself on my whole life of being like if I see something and I want it or I want to do it, I will work until like it's not an option to not get it. It's just a matter of how long is it going to take me. So like whether that's professional life, whether that's on, the fishing side of things and trying to build this show and all that kind of stuff. Like, when I was in like if I'm gonna do something, I want to be the best at it. It's just how I've been my whole life, and I think if I really put and just if I'm not doing it well enough, it means I'm not working hard enough for it. Like, oh, you're not catching as many 4-pounders as you wanted to this year. Well, guess what? You're not spending enough time on the river. Get your butt out there. Like that type of it goes across the whole thing. Oh, you're not where you want to be professionally. Work harder. Stay later. Get more done than the guy next to you. So that type of thing. I think that's my biggest attribute as a person is just I don't take failure as an option. Failure is just it's just how long until I succeed. I will keep going until it succeeds. It just might not be as fast as I want it to be. Like these shows and stuff are a great example, dude. For the first year or two, no, I mean, especially 6 months to a year, like no one's listening to my show. Like I'm turning it on and you're doing all this work and you look and you're like, I had 30 downloads, this month. Why did I do all that work for it? It's like, oh, you just keep going. And eventually you see, and with podcasts, it's a great one because it's a very visual. You can look at the graph, you can look at downloads, all that kind of stuff, and you can see that gradual raising of everything. And the harder you work, it's going to get to the top of that graph where you want it to eventually. It's just, is it going to take me, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? I don't know, but it's going the right direction. I'm going to get there at some point. I just need to keep working at it. Consistency builds results. And I think most people's failures that they have in life are just because they quit too soon.
Okay, I'm going to tell you that none of that sounded negative or bad at all. Like that is literally the definition of a good hard work ethic. Somebody who wants something.
I don't know. It sounds so bad. Like I don't fail. I can't fail. I'm not trying to be Gary V or something right now. It's just, dude, just work harder at it. That's how my personality is.
Yeah. No, dude, I love it. I think that's beyond a life hammer. That's just a human quality that you have, that you're like that 1% of people that have it. Does that make sense? Like that's
awesome. But then I'm also the guy's like, no, everybody's got it. They're just too dang lazy to do it. Just do it.
Yep.
Do it. Shia LaBeouf, do it.
Yes. I want to say so much stuff right now, but I don't want to get super political about this kind of stuff. But I will. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's a very quality characteristic to have about yourself. So hell yeah, be proud of that. Be proud of that forever. Okay. Have you ever had a lesson that you learned on the water that you've implemented in your life, or a lesson, or vice versa, like a lesson in life that you learned on the water? I gave people the example of like patience, but like, is there something out there where you're just standing there one day and somebody said something and you're like, oh, sick?
I think one of the biggest lessons, or I don't know what you want to call it, but like I think it's why I like muskie so much. I think the reason that I enjoyed targeting muskie and still enjoy targeting muskie to this day is because it is the species that you fail at the most, but then you realize that those fish, I don't know how many muskie I've caught in my life, 5 or 10, or I don't know, 5, 6, 7. Those fish, I can remember every second of that fight. I can remember every second of holding those fish. I can remember everything about it because it meant so much more to me, because it was so much harder to accomplish. So like, I think that's a good life lesson. I think the things that are going to matter most in life and the things that are going to leave you feeling most rewarded and most fulfilling are going to be the toughest things. And I think it's no secret that that's why I have this weird itch in my brain to like go target muskie and go spend a whole day chucking around a 1-pound piece of rubber till my arms feel like they're going to fall off, with a broomstick of a rod that weighs 4 times as much as my bass rods. And I just feel like I got hit by a train when the day's done and I didn't even get a bite, and I want to go do it again tomorrow. Like, I think that's why. I think I really, really enjoy that about muskie and about that whole species. And I think that does translate to pretty much everything. It's like the best things are the things you're gonna have to fight at, you're gonna have to work at, you're gonna have to get better at. You got to put in more time, and you're gonna fail a lot. But if the frequency of failure to success is, I don't know, greater or whatever, like if you're having a lot more failure than success, those successes are going to taste that much sweeter.
Absolutely. Dude, I love that answer. That's yes. That is I love that answer. Thank you. Yes, please. More of that. Because you're talking to an old skateboarder, man. Like all we do is fall and break bones, and then eventually you roll away from one trick, and it's
Yep.
like that trick means the world. If you landed it
Yeah.
first try, it's okay. I landed it first try,
Bingo.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it related just to fishing alone, skateboarding and fishing. There's a lot of similarities, but
I think that might be why fishing itself is so appealing and so much fun because I wish I still had the quote. There was a Instagram reel or whatever that was going around like a year ago of a kid on I think it was a fly fishing show or podcast or whatever, but he basically had this like quippy little one-liner about what fishing is. And it was something like fishing is the happenstance of little tidbits of success amongst a sea or a sea of fail. I don't know. There's a whole saying that he had, but basically it was like, I think it's why we like fishing. I think I like fishing because fishing is most of the time, I don't know how many casts you make a day and how many end up in fish. Very few, but it's the
yes.
chase. It's the struggle. It's the trying to figure out. It's the adversity. I think that's why fishing is so appealing. It's not like shooting foul shots where if you're a good foul shot shooter, you're making 98 out of 100 of them. It's no, you are going to have a lot of failure throughout the day, but that's the fun part of the activity is the failure and what you're learning from it and trying to reduce that failure.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. I love that. All right. So we're going to cut this. We're going to cut this question up just because, I mean, your life, half the portion of your life basically revolves around fishing. What's your fishing like today? Like, what is your, do you take trips or do you just catch little sessions when you can, or do you like schedule everything out with your buddies, or how does that work? What's that like for you? Because I know being a father,
Yeah.
having a full-time job, like you can't just, all right, I'm home, see you later. Like,
yeah, you definitely have to you have to schedule more. Like I have to be cognizant of, I used to be, I could just go all weekend, every weekend and every night that I wanted to basically. And like, you just go fishing whenever you're not at work or whatever you want to do. It's like, you can't do that anymore. So now you got to find balance. So a lot of weekends I will do, okay, I can take most of the day on Saturday and go do what I want, but then I need to be home Sunday. I can't do these 2-day weekend things because I have to be home to hold up my end of the bargain at home too. So you do have to schedule those. It is more micro trips and things like that. It's stopping and making 10 or 15 casts on your way somewhere, or a little bit of that too. So yeah, it definitely gets tougher. You have to squeeze it in a little bit more. I still don't do a lot of trips. I've never really done a lot of trips. Last year, ironically, was the year that I've done the most trips. I did 2 last year, which is 2 more than I don't know, may have ever done in my life. I don't travel to fish ever. I just fish around here. So I don't know. My fishing life right now, I'd say, is kind of it's boring, and it's getting more boring by the day. Where it's like I just feel like I know my water too well. It got to the point where there's nothing left to explore. There's no unknowns anymore. I know what I'm doing. I know whether it's a certain stretch of the river. I know everything about that stretch of the river. I know what areas I think suck. I know what areas I think are good. I know where those fish should be. And it's just, there's no magic anymore left in a lot of the water around me. Same with the lakes. Like I can go to the lakes. I know where every drop off is. I know where every, point is. I know everything. I know where the rock starts, where the rock stops. I know where the laydown is. It's lost that appeal for me. So like there are days where I just wake up and be like, man, I wish I could just move, start over somewhere else. Give me a new map to unlock here and let's go. I've unlocked everything in this map. Send me up to level 2. Like let's go somewhere new. But now I really think it's just, I'm gonna have to push myself outside of my comfort zone, and I'm gonna have to travel a little bit more. So it means like, all right, you're not driving 30 minutes to go fish anymore. Now you're going to drive 45 minutes to an hour to go fish because you need to get outside of this radius and go some more places. So I think that's where I'm at now, because there's just days where I'll wake up and I'll think, man, nowhere sounds good. It's like when you wake up and like no food sounds good. What do you want to eat? I don't know. Nothing sounds good. Like it's the same thing with the water around here. I've just got so apathetic with it that I'm done with it almost. So that's very truthfully where I'm at fishing wise around me. I just need to branch out more because I'm sick of everything around here.
I love it. And so leads me to one more question is it because you were traveling so much last year, do you get like nervous on a new body of water, like how to break it down, or are you automatically like analytical and like, all right, we're gonna do it this way, this way, this way, this way? Or is it like,
Kind
man, I don't
of
even know where
neither.
to start?
Yeah, kind of neither. I like like I think the unknown is the fun part. The fun part of fishing is that every next cast could be something special or around every bend. I mean, dude, you go, get in the water and start wet wading and you're going through these creeks and rivers and stuff and it's just I'm going to go around one more bend. What's up here, right? What's after this shoot? What's after this riffle? What's, or if you're on a lake, right? It's like, hey, what if I go over here? Let me map this real fast, or let me make a cast here and see if there's rock on the bottom here, or I see a layup, a lay down over there. I'm going to go flip it. Maybe there's a 5-pounder under. I don't know. I've never been here before. Like that type of thing. I like that there's still some mystery to it. I chase that mystery. That mystery is what makes fishing fun. And when you fish the same places over and over and over again, you lose the mystery. And the mystery is what, I don't know. My perfect world is like when we went to the Susquehanna this past year, I didn't know anything about it. We're going up, this river and we're pulling up big ledges and stuff like that. And it's just I wonder what's around this bend over here. I wonder what's up here.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I love that same thing. And that same thing is my kryptonite for when I'm fishing, because I know that if I go hit a bunch of points, I'll eventually catch a fish. But I see all these little things along the way, and then I get stuck, and then I go to fish this giant lake, and I only fished about 600 yards, and then I got to go home. And I'm like, well, that was my day. And sometimes it pays off, and I'm like, yes, it was a great frog fishing day. And other days, I'm like,
I missed half the lake. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess to maybe some of my downfall too, I'm a real big run and gun type guy. I will not sit and dwell on places very long. I really, really think most fisheries you can go in, I have this theory that like the alpha fish or the fish that are going to cooperate right off the bat more often than not. So yes, there are situations where it's like you flip that lay down 5 times, and if you stay there and you flip it for another 2 hours, you might catch a big one off of it. Yeah, you might. What could you have done in those 2 hours? What could you have seen? How many other fish could you have put your bait in front of that were going to bite on the first or second one because they are the aggressive alpha fish? Like, I don't really know how to explain that, except my brain says that my percentages here, or like to up my percentage of having a good day, is to cast at as many novel areas as possible, to cast at as many first time potentially seeing fish as possible, and I think you'll have a better day. So I really do end up covering a lot of water, and I move on too quickly for some of my buddies sometimes that wish I would slow down because they're not ready to move, or I'm getting ahead of them or something yet. But it's just, dude, go, 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 go. You've casted at that, eddy 5 times. There's nothing there. Let's move. Let's keep going. Let's find them. Not to say that there isn't one there, but it's going to take too much time to get it to cooperate to make it worth it.
Got it. Yeah. I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about lure sensitivity in fish, and like how some fish are just programmed to they just won't bite. They won't bite. It's something in their genetic code that's like, yeah, no. And there might be a giant fish there, and eventually you'll wear them down, and chances are you're going to get it. But no,
dude, have you read the book Knowing Bass?
You're holding on to my copy right now.
Okay, good. I was about to say, because it's coming to you next. It's coming to you next.
I appreciate it. Yes, thank you.
You will love it.
Yes.
So what I actually did, Z sent it to me.
Yes.
I was reading it, and within the first, I don't know, 2 chapters, I said, this is a book that I have to have. Like, I have to have a copy of this book, because this is not a book I'm going to read once and send on or whatever. So what I did, I went on, I found a used copy. They're insanely expensive, but I bought my own copy of it. So after this, I will get your address. Your copy is on the way, because I have my own copy now. Because again, it's that good of a book for, you know, what you just talked about, lure sensitivity and conditioning of fish. And that's one page out of, you know, 180 pages in this book or whatever. You're gonna geek out on this book. So I will send it to you right after this. I'll get your address and send it over. But you're gonna love it.
I appreciate it. Yeah, dude. That was on my list of things to do before Columbus because I have like a budget, you know, and my whole budget got thrown out the window because of some issues that happened. So that was like one of the things that I'm like, well, next year I'll do it next year, you know. So
dude, those books you sell used for so much money. My God, I paid $100 for a paperback copy.
I was gonna say you got the paperback then. Yep.
Yeah. And that was a good price.
That is a very good price.
They sell for more than that. I found one guy on eBay that had listed it like that day. I did a best offer and he accepted it. I was like, okay, I could turn around and sell that book for $150 probably. I don't know. More than that. That's really what they go for. So yeah, it's sad when when my wife found out that I bought $100 paper copy book about fish, you want to talk about judging. She's like, what? I was like, listen, just let me be. Okay. You have your things, I have my things.
You like books? Come on now.
Yeah.
Okay, last thing. Here we go. It's a 3-parter. It's health. So, and I kind of know the answer to the first one because I'm similar, and the second one because I'm similar. But it's hydration, diet, and mental clarity. Like, what do you do for health in those areas?
Not good. None of the above. I am the guy that notoriously will go out all day long and be out on the water for 10 hours a day and didn't even bring anything to eat or water. Like I'm that guy. I will get done by the end of the day and I'll be like, I have not ate or drank anything all day. I've been out in the sun all day. I am withering away at this point in terms of just like my state of being, right? Not my actual body, but just like my brain is about to like turn off. And then I am the guy that will, and again, I'm not proud of this, but I am the guy that will get in my truck and now I am a rabid animal because I have not eaten or drank an ounce of water all day long. So I will just eat like a idiot, you know, on the way home from wherever I'm at. Like, I mean, I'm at the gas station or whatever, and like you're swinging through and you're grabbing something and just absolutely mowing it because you're a ravenous being because you haven't eaten anything all day. That's me. I'm not proud of it. That's just the truth.
It's all good. I've done the eating Jack in the Box on the way to Popeye's chicken before I'm going home. I get it. Yep, 100%. But I mean,
not
outside,
good, but yeah. Outside of fishing, I'm usually pretty good. Like I'm a creature of habit, so I'll eat and drink the same things. You know, I am very bad at drinking water. I'm terrible at it. I will go through a whole day, just like at work or whatever. Be like, I haven't drank anything all day. I just don't really get thirsty. I don't know. I don't sit there at my desk and be like, you know what I need? I need liquid. Like, no, I get hungry, but I don't really get thirsty too much. So I need to remind myself a lot of times to drink water. But no, I mean, normal stuff, right? Try and stay active the best you can. I mean, I guess the nice part is like with fishing, like I love wet wading. I love kayaking. I love things that do get you out of the house and do make you actually exert some physical effort and stuff too. I don't really work out as much like I used to back in the day, but I don't know. I have a fairly high metabolism, so I don't need to as much as some of my other buddies and stuff to just be a normal, semi-healthy person. I should. Maybe that'll be the next thing on the bucket list. I'll read the Bible this year and I'll get in shape next year. Maybe. How about that? But, but,
spirit in my body.
Yeah. And then the mental side of things, like I don't have that much of an issue with that side of things because I'm not a very emotional person, like at all. I'm the most boring, like practical mutant of a person where it's like emotions and stuff really don't get me. I get stressed out a little bit, but I mean, like, fishing is your escape from all that stuff. So like that is why I need to make time to go fishing. Fishing is the decompression time. Everybody has their thing that helps them decompress. Mine is getting out, tuning out everything else, and just worrying about trying to get an underwater animal to eat a piece of plastic, like trick underwater animals. That's my way of decompressing. So I like that. There's this sort of like, I think it's hardwired in our DNA somewhere as humans to like want to go out there and want to hunt and provide and that type of thing. Yeah, we don't have to do it as much as we used to thousands of years ago, but it's still in there somewhere, and it does scratch that itch that we have back there of just me man, me hunt, me provide, me, you know, be outdoors and that type of thing. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. I don't eat as healthy as I should. I don't drink a ton of water, but I like to go out fishing, and that keeps me sane.
Yep. Like a mental, emotional reset. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like get out there and like all that stuff. All right.
Hunting
bring it
does the
back
same
next
thing.
week. Next
Yep.
week. Yeah.
Hunting's the exact same thing. Get up in a tree, 20 feet up, you know, let the world pass you by for a little bit and just observe nature and try and kill something.
That's awesome.
I
Have
like
you ever
that.
seen something hunting that you're like, I should shoot that? Like, I'm like, say you're deer hunting and like a giant bear walks by. You're like, dude, I could take that
No,
guy
so like
down
we
right
don't
now.
nothing dangerous, but you do see a lot of stuff that like the regular human doesn't get to see. Like if you get into the woods in the dark and you get, you know, up in your tree, you get up in your climber and all that kind of stuff, you get strapped in, everything's good. You're up 25 feet in the air and or maybe not 25 feet, but 20 feet or whatever up in the air. And you're up there before the sun comes up, and then you have disappeared before anything else wakes up. So you get to watch the, you know, the forest or whatever, just like the woods come alive as a fly on the wall where nothing knows you're there. So you're seeing like foxes and red squirrels and minks and like that type of stuff. Things that, you know, are usually fairly elusive and like you don't see them too often. You're seeing a lot of that stuff. You're seeing different animals interacting with each other, and it really is cool just to be true fly on the wall and get to see how nature looks when it doesn't know you're there is a cool thing.
Super sick. You know,
Yeah.
I've never been a hunter because I never have. I live in the city. There's nothing to hunt, like possums. You know, like
Yeah.
yeah, but no, dude, it sounds super interesting. Like that ideal sounds interesting to me. Like
Yeah.
to sit there and watch it all come alive and it not know you're there. I can imagine there's probably. I mean, I'm not thinking foxes aren't frolicking with deer, but like I
Right.
can
Yeah.
imagine there's just some stuff out there.
Yeah,
That
it's
like,
not
this is
Bambi. It's
cool.
not like the actual, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
cartoon or
yeah,
anything. But yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it is cool. You see species of stuff that you don't normally get to see that usually aren't out, or you know, types of birds or coyotes or all that kind of stuff. You see some cool stuff.
That's cool. All right, man. Well, I'm gonna ask you to do it. Whether you know, I don't think you really need to, but I'm asking you to do it anyways. Do you want to go ahead and plug like your socials and where people can get a hold of you and all that kind of stuff? Or
Yeah. Thank you. No, it's Tackle Talk podcast. You can find it wherever you want to look. Like it's on every streaming platform that you can think of. So that's mainly where we are. Like we don't really do YouTube or videos or anything for the most part. Like we're MP3 only mostly. I think that's just kind of like the lane that we picked back in the day. And I don't know, you can probably tell me. I think Tackle Talk has become in people's routine to fit in a place where audio only makes sense. So like they're not sitting at home at night, you know, to sit down like they would to watch their favorite YouTuber or whatever, and sitting in front of the TV to listen to Tackle Talk. They are like on the way to work, or it's in their AirPods as they're at work, or they're on the water, they're on their way to the lake, like or they're working out. Right? It's in a place where they don't physically have to be watching. So making video makes no sense because it's already ingrained in people's daily life into a portion of that day that audio only makes sense. So we're really on only audio stuff. So Apple, iHeart, Amazon, all those type of things. And then we're on social media and all that normal stuff too.
you do you have interviews up though on YouTube if people want to go watch these things, like they can.
Yeah, there's certain ones that I'll put up there, not even so much for people to watch as almost more of like an archive. Like I will, certain ones I'll be like, you know what, in case something happens to my hard drive or whatever, I want that out there to be able to recall at some point. So like, yeah, well, and there's some that I really do need to put the full thing up there. But yeah, like, and a good example is like a couple weeks ago we had Zone on. I was like, you know what? Just in case, that was a really fun conversation with him. I'm just in case something happens, I want to archive that, so that'll go up on YouTube. But yeah, for the most part, there are some on there you can go watch, like Jimmy Houston or Wheeler or some of those conversations. But most of them are just audio.
Did you put the swimmies up though? The swimmies got to be up there.
The last 2 years before this year I did, and then this year I just did it audio.
All right, yeah, all right, cool. Well, either way, those are super funny. I laugh at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are looking for
very low budget video production for sure.
It's solid though.
It's like clip art.
Dude, I love it. Yeah, that's good. So, all right, dude, Andrew, thank you, dude. I genuinely appreciate you coming on here, especially so last minute and stuff, dude. Like, dude,
anytime, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate.
Always
you so
enjoy
much.
talking to you, whether it's recorded or not. I appreciate you the past couple of years, and you've been a great friend that, again, I've made through the fishing side of things that probably would have never even had a chance to meet without fishing. So this is the great part about this whole thing, and I just appreciate you a ton. You've been a good buddy for probably 4 years at this point now.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you saying that, and same with you, dude. Like you've fielded a lot of my insanity, and you've came back with tons of
I created more of it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. And
awesome.
I'm gonna throw you in the green room, and then I'm gonna close this whole sucker out, and I'll talk to you in a minute because we got some stuff to talk about because I got some ideas. Anyway, so,
sounds good.
All right, later.
Yeah.
That was Andrew Hayes of the Tackle Talk podcast. If you guys are interested, he left all his plugs right there. Go find him on wherever social media is or wherever you want to listen to your favorite podcast. He's on there. Trust me. Thank you, Andrew. You've helped me trudge the way through trying to figure out how to catch a bass for the last, I don't know how many years, 2020 since then. And yeah, you've done a lot for me individually, so I truly appreciate you. And next week, we will have no show because I only go every other week. So without any further ado, I give to you. What's up, everybody? Wolf from Walmart. We're back. We're back, baby, again.
Not a bad fish right there, guys. Oh, no.
Out here catching fulsome bass right now, dude. Woo, he's a little chunker.